2 hours of sleep, lads. 2 hours. But God reserves his greatest streams for his sleepiest soldiers. Hello. We've we've landed into manic sleepy territory instead of tired sleepy territory. Hello everyone. Howdy howdy. Hey Emma, I gotta get back to you. Why are you so irresponsible with your sleep? I couldn't sleep. I went to bed at 1 a.m., which is earlier than I normally do, but I couldn't sleep. Excuse me. Hey, hey. How's everyone doing? 1 a.m. is early? 1 a.m. is early for me. Yes. Did you know sleep therapy is a thing? Never heard of it. You gonna cover the UK budget? We got a lot to talk about today. A lot to talk about. Hello, everyone. I hope we're all having a wonderful day. 3,000 people to start the stream off. You guys honor me with your presence. On a Sunday, too. My goodness. Hey, hey. We got a lot to go over. Well, oh yeah. You know what? Let's kick it off right. Come here, you. Come here, you. Come here. Look at this scrungly little. What? Pigeon. Mad. Mad. Enraged. Furious. Look at her. Be free, little Pippin. Ooh. So cute. Do you follow sports at all? Nope. Not even esports. When I used to. Vosh, the shooting happened literally minutes away from me. I saw the cops there on my way home from work last night. My coworkers were friends with some of those that passed. I'm very sorry to hear that. We'll cover that in just a minute. We have sort of unavoidably grim topics to discuss today, so I think we're going to get all the silly bullshit out of the way to begin with. Is everyone okay with that? Can we keep it a little trivial to begin with? Just a little, you know? Light dusting? We'll move into it, all right? We're going to work our way into that. First of all, and I know I already tweeted about this, but a new highlight video for this Overwatch character. I cannot believe this is reality. I can't believe that Blizzard is a company that used to exist but doesn't anymore. And there's some sort of shadow puppet company running in their place. I have no idea. For anyone who doesn't understand what's wrong with this, first of all, I envy you because you are much less discerning than I am. But if you can take a look at the way... Keep in mind, this is Overwatch, right? Overwatch models and animation literally, like, started a fucking, like, wave of amateur animation work. I mean, a lot of it was porn, but in general, like, people praised the Overwatch characters for their designs, their animation. But look at this. At its simplest, animation is about defining keyframes for a 3D model. That is, like, where do you want the model to be at what points in time? And then having it move from one to another over a given length of time. And you'll notice that everything here is a simple translation from one keyframe to another. It's robotic. Like, there's no character to the way the knife moves. It even clips through her fingers a couple of times. Even her head turns in, like, a robotic, like, Disney animatronic way, you know? There's no, like, character or fluidity to any of it. Yeah, there's no weight. It's really, it's genuinely embarrassing. Like, it's genuinely, yeah. It's actually, it's, like, upsetting, man. Blizzard used to be... I have such a, like, bias towards Blizzard because when I was growing up, like, my dad does work in VFX, and he did a lot of it on a Macintosh. So I had a Mac computer, and there weren't many video games coming out from Mac computers back in the day. But Blizzard would. Diablo, World of Warcraft, Warcraft, StarCraft, all these games had Mac ports as well. So for a while, the only games that I could really play, well, most of them, were Blizzard games, and they were amazing. Diablo 2, amazing. Warcraft 3, amazing. World of Warcraft, really depends on how you look at it, okay? StarCraft, amazing. And then it's like, oh yeah, well, so we just got like the raccoon in the dumpster outside to do the tweening for this animation. Do you like it? We've trained a monkey. Do you like it? God. Compare it to this. Yeah, like, look at any other, like, look at the way they move in, like, actual animation. You know? Remember back when Junkrat was a character? That was cool. It's not just, like, blending between two frames. It's not tweening, you know? It's like actual, like, fluid animation, you know? One of the best things that happened to, like, 3D animation was learning how to treat it more like 2D animation with squash and stretch, rather than it just being a bunch of, like, robotic 3D models being puppeteered. Um, you know? Okay, yeah. Let's not linger on this for too long. We got a lot to talk about. Oh, speaking of early 3D animation, guys, I am feeling really inspired by Quake. In terms of, like, game design stuff, I really, really, really like the art style. Um, I really like how it looks. I feel like Quake is such a beautiful blend of, like, early 3D models and like 2D texture work that didn't have any, like, texture blending so you could see the pixels. I really like it. I really like it. I've never played Quake before. I don't know why I thought Quake was, like, an earlier game. For some reason, I thought Quake was, like, around the same time as Doom, but no, it's 3 years after Doom 2, I think. But it's really cool, yeah. Yesterday, I played it, like, almost the whole day. I'm midway through the 4th chapter. It's really good. Yeah. Oh, TTS? Why was TTS on? Sorry, I turned it off. I love you. Not again, Vosh praising ugly-ass late 90s polygons. Okay, last thing I'm gonna say, because I really don't want to get stun-locked. Um, I think there's a lot of, like, real beauty. So, this is, like, the original versus the remaster, which, they're pretty minute differences, I think. I think there's a lot of beauty to early 3D models, personally. I feel like this was back feel like this was back at the point where there was, like, a pleasant degree of abstraction. Um, you know what I mean? Where things were far enough away from reality that there was a little bit more flexibility. Kind of like how sprite work tends to be, like, it tends to age really well because everyone looks at sprite work and thinks like, okay, well, that's not meant to literally represent reality. Real life doesn't have, like, hard, jagged 90-degree edges, you know? It's supposed to be like a conceptual abstraction. But look at that. I think they look quite nice, personally. Um, you know? It's spooky little dudes. Yeah. It makes you use your imagination. Has anyone seen the Scanline H Bomber Guy video on VHS, where he talks about how the original Alien movie was a lot scarier on VHS because the artifacts and grain of VHS tapes would cause, like, the darkness to sort of shimmer and move, and it made it feel like the alien could be there, or the xenomorph. Um, I feel that way. I feel like it's kind of good to have your brain do some of the work, you know? That's why books are so enduring, you know? Um, and maybe we lose a little bit something when everything's, like, hyper realistic, because then our brains don't have to do anything. It's all right there, you know? Not to say it's bad. I just, yeah. Yeah, Doom is fake 3D, Quake is true 3D. Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah. I mean, like, in terms of how abstraction can, uh, in terms of how abstraction ages well, like, the Doom monsters look so good. Uh, like, why isn't this HD? Here, all enemies of Doom. The, oh, come on, just show the, show the old ones. Come on. The Doom monsters look really good. Just the sprite. Just show the old. Show the sprites. Just please. Doom original 1992 enemies. Sprites? What do you want from me? I obviously 3. Is it 3? 3, please. I don't. They look really good. They're like cool dudes. I don't know. Do a lot of neat work there. Okay, that's enough. We've done our stun lock. That was 10 minutes. That was 10 minutes. That was pretty good. Are you liking the 9 Inch Nails soundtrack? Are you guys gonna get so triggered? I have the music down really low on Doom and Quake so I can listen to podcasts. I'm not listening to Megadeth or 9 Inch Nails. Ooh, they're gonna hate me for that one. Oh, they're gonna be mad. Podcast gaming, hell yeah. Yeah, true. My first bad media take, yeah. Not at all true. Okay. I get that Super Jet guy. When I was a kid, I was always really scared of the Mario 64 Bowser laugh music. I remember one time when I was like 5 or something, I called my dad into the room so he could be there when I entered Mario's castle on a new save, so that when Bowser laughs at you after you enter the main castle doors, he would like be there, you know? Yeah. That's cute. Yeah, I got him back later by kicking his ass in GoldenEye 64. I decked his ass so bad he never played video games again. That's not a joke. He played video games growing up with me. We played the original Tomb Raider games together. We would like both play at the same time, where I would handle the shooting controls and he would handle the movement controls. And then I got old enough to like play versus him, and I kicked his ass in GoldenEye 64 so bad he never played video games again. I kind of locked him out of the medium there. I feel a bit bad. I specifically remember this one specific incident where we were both on one of the facility maps and we rounded the corner at the same time. No screen looking, of course. He had one of the submachine guns and I had a shotgun, and I fucking bopped his ass the moment we rounded the corner. No, wait, he had a shotgun too. It was like the fucking samurai duel where both of us rounded the corner and we both hit the fire button at the same time, and there was just a pause. Like, which one of us got the shot, you know? And then he collapsed and I didn't. Like, the blood dripped down his side and I didn't, you know? Like, the two fucking shotgun samurai ducking through the doorway. You know, 2 shots ring out, 1 man drops. Yeah. Did you play Oddjob? No, we were both playing, regular height characters. Okay, that's enough. All right, ready to talk about dead queer people? No, we can put it off longer. We can put it off longer. Thank God. I thought we could briefly appreciate sort of like the mind of your average like homeowners association racist boomer. This is a police body cam footage where for once we are not going to be rooting against the police officer over the course of this. So that's going to be cool, okay? Now, according to Twitter, this person is a chairman of a local Republican Party. I don't know if that's true, and I don't need to because it's spiritually true. I believe this is true. You will too after watching this, okay? I don't need facts, all right? It feels true.
How are you? What's going on?
Man called a non-emergency police line to report a girl who was spraying spotted lanternflies in Caldwell, New Jersey. New Jersey has a Stomp It Out campaign encouraging residents to kill the invasive species that is harmful to plants and trees.
There's a little black woman walking and spraying stuff on the sidewalks and trees on Elizabeth and Florence. I don't know what the hell she's doing. It scares me, though.
Do you have any, like, clothing description or anything?
She's a real small woman, real tiny. She's got a hood on. You can't miss her.
Hi.
When the
How are
officer
you?
arrived, he found a 9-year-old girl. 9-year-old girl scaring this guy. Yeah, this tiny woman, like 4 feet tall, you know? This adult woman who's 4 feet tall for some reason. I'm getting real spooked over here.
Oh, what's going on? Is that your mom? What's that? Oh, what are you using to sponsor?
Terrifying. I'm glad they blurred her appearance, because otherwise people might die of a fright. This tiny baby that had the cops called on her.
Oh, what are you using to sponsor? You're trying to catch him? Is this your mom coming down the street? Okay. Someone just called in and said that she was alone spraying something on the grass.
She's catching the...
I see that.
Look at the fucking mom's reaction. Look at the fucking mom's reaction. We see the cop walks up to her like a black woman after talking to her daughter. It's like, she's like, okay, what's happening? It's like, oh yeah, your lanternfly daughter. Look at this.
Someone just called in and said that she was alone spraying something on the grass.
She's catching the...
I see that.
Yeah, tell Gordon I said thank you.
Oh, you know Gordon?
Just really well.
Yeah. Okay, can I just get your information?
Sure.
She knew who it was. You know, Gordon? Asshole. She knew exactly who it was.
Sorry.
Joseph. Are you serious?
Yeah, I guess he saw it. I'm not sure.
Does he not live across the street from me?
And I thought, wow, she's doing a school project.
Yeah, somebody else helped her. She's
Right.
like, just get the lantern. She's
Okay.
like, Mommy, she's infested.
Oh, she's obviously fine.
We are across
You're
the
obviously
street.
next door neighbors.
Yeah. I yelled
Okay.
him when it's his right. No.
No, you're not in trouble.
How many did you kill? How many trees did you save?
So starved are we for, like, positivity. You know, these rare moments where the cop isn't doing the bad thing. Vosh, does the cop have to do this? Yeah. If you come out on a call, that's because dispatch sent you. And if dispatch sent you, you have to have, like, something. Like, just literally, like, who's involved, blah, blah. The cop is doing the bare minimum here because he knows that this is stupid. Yeah.
They're bad.
After speaking with the girl's mother, he talked to Gordon LaShaw, the neighbor. Love they're giving his name, by the way. Fuck this guy.
It's water. She's catching lantern flies.
Is she really?
She said she lives right here. Yeah, she's catching lantern flies. Alright, I'll see.
What a weirdo, huh? That's what this guy had to say. So this 9-year-old girl that he was scared of was a neighbor, so he had to have known. What a wacko, that adult 4-foot tall black woman.
Alright, I'll see. I'll see you later.
The cop just pulls off, which again, like all the cop could reasonably do. Joseph and her older daughter spoke in front of the Caldwell Town Council after the incident.
Racism, intentional or not, is still racism. I'm not here to label anyone, only to share my point of view as a Black woman, a Black mother, and a Black resident in this town.
She was not only doing something.
Whoa, fucking trigger warning. Oh my god, terrifying. Look at how intimidatingly large she is. I'd be scared too if I saw this person looking at a tree with a water bottle.
Amazing for our environment. She was doing something that made her feel like a hero.
Can you imagine how fucked it is being a 9-year-old girl and doing something that is literally a community service? Literally a community service. That is actually what it is. And like, oh yeah, your neighbor called the cop on you. Like, what the fuck, man? I've talked about this a little bit before, but this feels like incredibly relevant. When I was in high school, when I was in my senior year, I took a community relations extracurricular course. It was college level. It had to do with like communications, I think. It was like a comm course. And it was taught by, you're going to hate me, it was taught by a pair of cops at my local, at Beverly Hills High School. See, I always liked public speaking. And you know, it was basically like, well, how do you deal with sticky situations, you know, like conversationally, like how do you deal with that? And the cops, they had some extra time, so they did the course, you know. It was actually a pretty interesting course. It was all about like, how do you navigate the social fabric? And I have a distinct memory I've told this story before. This is the one time that, like, Albert Einstein was in my class. Because after I did my speech, everyone clapped. This is the one time it's true. Yeah, this is the one where, yeah, thank you, Flavio. You remember, yeah. Because I like public speaking and blah, blah, blah. We were given an exercise. And it was, everyone in the class was given, it was a small class. We were given a prompt. So in this prompt, we are a police chief. We're a police chief of like a large precinct. And yeah, see, Vermin vouches. And we were given like a difficult situation to respond to at a town hall community meeting where we're being accosted by a citizen. So basically, it's like, okay, imagine you're in this position of authority. Like, how do you deal with like a grievance from a citizen? You know what I mean? And my prompt was a person a person accosted me at a town hall because I didn't send somebody out from dispatch after they made a call that was obviously racially motivated. Like, a guy called to the cops, said, hey, scary, spooky black woman, 4 feet tall, and I didn't send someone through the precinct, and then that guy showed up at the town hall meeting to say, like, well, why didn't you send someone? So I had to give a speech on, like, the misuse of public resources or something. I wish I could say I remember any of that. I think I was, you got to be diplomatic in these, in the prompt, right? You can't just like dab on them. But I think it's so, like, I don't know, it's so enduring to me that this is like a common enough occurrence. Not only that sociologists and nerds talk about it. I thought it was about the police unlawfully killing someone. That might have been a second one. Possibly. I think there were a couple of prompts that we were given over the course of the semester within between classes that had to do with, like, I guess, rhetorical strategies. The point that I'm getting at here, is that, like, this is a thing that happens often enough that it's used as, like, I don't know, briefs and prompts in educational courses. Like, it's so fucked up. We saw this with the Zimmerman thing as well, where you had Trayvon Martin, who was just dabbing down the street, and then Zimmerman calls the cops, like, rabies infested, spit flecking from his mouth, you know? This fucking kid, this guy's got a fucking hoodie, we gotta do something. And the cop on the phone is like, sir, can you please not do anything? And Zimmerman's like, I'm gonna do it, and fucking shoots him. It's such a common issue. And it really goes a long way towards, like, making you feel like less of the community, like less a part of the community. And that's something that can't really be empirically demonstrated, if that makes any sense. So often, like, metrics of racism are sort of like, oh, well, income or like housing, redlining. But there's stuff that isn't really easy to measure, and this means, like, a lot towards those metrics. It's just really difficult to, like, properly empirically, like, number them out. I don't even know how you begin to do that outside, like, general feeling of community disillusionment. I'm very happy that I wasn't accosted at 9. My brother and I, this is gonna be crazy. I'm white, if you couldn't tell. My little brother's white, and he would walk around Beverly Hills, late at night all the time, be fine. But when he started hanging out with some of his sports friends, a couple of whom were black, that's when the cops started asking him, hey, what are you gentlemen doing tonight? You got any plans? You heading home? And it's because our fucking neighbors, not like our direct neighbors, I mean like people in Beverly Hills as they walked around, would call them. It's like, oh yeah, well these hoodlums, oh yeah, sure. Fucking HOA, goddamn. I already told the story that I had a cute girl in my car. We were parked fairly near my house, residential neighborhood, street parking, no licensing needed to park there. It's literally just street parking that anyone can park at. And we're both chilling in the front seats, driver and passenger, talking. We're not even, like, hands on each other. I'm serious, like, we're literally talking. This isn't a euphemism. Fucking cops got called in this. Fucking cop car rolls by with his gigantic high beam flashlight rolling past our window, shining on us, got us to skedaddle. Literally, just in the front. Because I have to assume it was the house directly to our right. Oh, well, there are hoodlums in a car outside. This neighborhood is disgusting. Or sorry, not neighborhood. No, yeah, Beverly Hills is disgusting. This attitude is disgusting. It's filthy. This ridiculous suburban paranoia. Beverly Hills isn't even a suburb. It's like well, parts of it are, but the part I lived in wasn't. It's genuinely like revolting, you know? These paranoid upper middle class fucks who have nothing to do but peer outside their window. I assume it's because she was black. No, she was white Jewish. She was like a mousy nerdy girl. She was like 100 pounds soaking wet. I could have thrown her into the house as retribution for the police call. Ridiculous. Yeah, it must have been anti-Semitism. What was I saying? Similar story of a Texas mom penalized for having their kid outside in suburbia. Oh, I saw this. Yeah, this is like some genuine... This is some like modernity, like depression fuel shit. Suburban mom handcuffed, jailed for making 8-year-old son walk half a mile home. Heather Wallace pled guilty to child endangerment and can no longer work with kids. Oh, sorry, your life's ruined. Your kid walked for 5 minutes on their own. Sorry, goodbye. If you're not an American who lives in certain parts of America, you don't understand. But like, American like suburban paranoia is insane. These are the same people who are like every Halloween. It's like, okay, don't have any candy because drug dealers are putting fentanyl and razor blades in every M&M. You know, half a mile. That's like a 20-minute walk, right? No, it's a 10-minute walk for a kid, or like a 7-8 minute walk for an adult. Yeah. Yeah, 5 minutes for half a mile is pretty standard. 5 minutes for half a mile? What, for a run? 10 minutes to a mile? Nobody can walk that fast. Shut up, the autistic brewer. We're not running here. Heather Wallace's oldest son, 8-year-old Aiden, was driving his two... Oh, so, well, hold on. Was driving his two brothers. I was like, wait a second, hold on. Is this child endangerment? This kid's got like one of those like samurai sandals on to reach the accelerator, you know, from the seat. As they returned from karate one afternoon, Wallace asked Aiden to walk the rest of the way home, half a mile in quiet suburb Waco, Texas, so he could calm down. For this, she was arrested, handcuffed, and thrown in jail. She was charged with endangering a child, a felony carrying a mandatory minimum of 2 years in prison. What? She was finally able to speak out after completing a 6-month pretrial diversion program to get the charges dropped. But her arrest remains on the books, easily searchable by employers. Unbelievable. It's a lot of it is like this stranger danger shit. People are really paranoid that somebody's going to snatch up their kids, which like, man, I don't want to say it doesn't happen at all, but like it doesn't really. That's not really true. Do you guys remember that one video? Can somebody find it? It went viral like 2 months ago, and it was like some white woman who was like, "Hey, if you ever park at an Applebee's and you come back and your car has like one spot of dust on it, that means a rapist is waiting in a bush nearby." Can anyone find that for me? It's all suburban paranoia. It's people who listen to true crime podcasts. It's white women who have nothing going on in their lives, so they want to imagine that they're like the future victim of a Taken story. It's people giving themselves anxiety disorders. Like, this manifests in so many fucking ways, and so much of it is tied to suburbia. This is like a social alienation thing. When you don't talk to your neighbors, when you don't do anything, when you just live in like a box with a lawn around it and you don't interact with society at all, you develop this like insane cabin fever that isolates you from the reality of the world that you live in, and it makes you a fucking freak. It's disgusting. This? Oh, thank God. Did you find it? Is this what I wanted? Oh, fuck yes, dude. Absolutely. This went viral. Attention, ladies, please take notes. 107,000.
If you see this, run. If you see money in your windshield, you need to run away fast. They're trying to get you to get out of your car and grab the money. If you see this, you need to get in your car some other way. This is a sign that this is probably laced with something. People's hands have gone numb. They have passed out. It is a trick. Do not touch this. If you see this, they have labeled this. This is what they're labeling. They're saying this is a woman who is alone, that someone has been watching you. They see you're alone. They think you're vulnerable. You need to go home and you need to cut this off. This is meant to pause you so that someone from underneath the car can cut your Achilles heel, and so that you're distracted. It gives them enough time to get to you. See, this one looks the most innocent, but you're gonna notice this one. It's gonna be placed here after you're already in your car. Their goal is to get you out of your car. You just wanna check your surroundings, okay? Because there's so many different ways.
If you see a shopping cart next to your car, draw your 9mm and unload the entire clip randomly in all directions. This is anxiety disorder. This is mental illness. Yeah, this is mental illness, okay? I refuse to respect this. None of this shit is happening, okay? Human traffickers are not kidnapping white women outside of Applebee's, okay? They are lying to migrant workers and illegal immigrants and then driving them over to, like, fucking dungeons and compounds where they can be sold off. They are not involving the entire fucking, like, white suburban police precinct with the disappearance of one lady. Just stop. Shut up. Oh my god, stop. If you hear boss music, draw your 9mm, yeah. You're saying not even slavers want to deal with white women? It does bother me a little bit that the Taken movies did so much to give people, like, a picture of like, criminal terror, and it made so many people paranoid, when, like, overwhelmingly, the victims of everything white women fear are not white women. They're migrants, poor people, poor, homeless people, and people in, like, really shitty parts of town, like ghettos and stuff. Those are the people, because when those people disappear, the cops don't care, and nobody's there to, like, freak out about it. Illegal immigrants disappear? What, you think they're gonna go to the police? No, of course not. Kidnap an illegal immigrant, you're basically scot-free. Like, what are they gonna do? They're outside the system. Any of their friends go to the cops, and they're on the books too. Like, but it's always white women, because the audience is more sympathetic to white women, so of course Taken has to be about a white woman. It can't be about anything else, which means it's like every story has to be about, like, reinforcing this fucking true crime podcast bullshit where don't get murdered, everyone, where everyone's, like, clutching their purse every time they walk within 8 kilometers of, like, a young guy with a snapback when they go to their bank to withdraw the $3,000 they're going to use to pay their rent in suburbia. Yeah, Native people as well. Yeah, like Native American, like a lot of people who disappear on reservations because the infrastructure there is, like, really bad. It's very poor people there. Yeah, there's literally a name for this: missing white woman syndrome. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a fucking yeah. Yep. This is the female version of the knocking a gun off a shooter's hands video trend. Yeah, it's fine. Oh, the reason I'm talking about this right now is because this is nothing more than the liberal progressive equivalent of the first thing that we watched. This is the same ideology. These are the same. This woman might have voted for Barack Obama, and this guy might be a Republican political leader, but it's both the same ideology. Both of these are facilitated by the exact same, like, highly alienated, like, xenophobic fear of society, externalized against different groups. This guy's obviously racist. This, I don't fucking know. Yeah. The guy's an elected Republican council member. Yeah, that tracks. Oh my god. Didn't even blur her face in this one. This is the is this the girl, or is it this girl or this girl? I don't... What? Terrifying. Scary. I don't even know. It's the tiny one? Fuck. Okay. Yeah, jump scare. Jesus. It's the one who looks 9, you fool. I don't have a frame of reference. I don't know how tall this podium is. Also, I don't know how old 9-year-olds look. All right, hold on. Just end the segment. Like 9? What? I don't go outside of my house. Oh, you're all gonna make jokes. Okay, yeah. Got the sniffles, lads. Probably because I'm sleep deprived. You know I haven't been 9 in 20 years, right? Ugh, okay. All right. Close this shit. Did you see this? No, I didn't. I'll take a look soon. Okay. We have to talk about the thing. Okay. So I had trouble sleeping last night. Not for any specific reason. Just because I don't sleep that well. And one of the last things that I saw before I did eventually manage to go to sleep, some very helpful, very well-intentioned viewers of mine responding to some tweets that I had made with, hey, check this out. Colorado Springs police confirm 5 are dead and 18 injured in the Club Q shooting. That's right. It's another gay, or I guess queer, bar shooting. A classic. In the modern world, it seems. From AP News, thank you, Ray Dubin. Always a good source. A 22-year-old gunman opened fire in a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs, killing 5 people and leaving 18 injured before he was subdued by heroic patrons. And I know that by heroic here, they're quoting someone, but putting it in quotations makes it seem sarcastic, which comes across a bit tone-deaf. And arrested by police who were on the scene within the minutes, authorities said Sunday. 2 firearms, including a long rifle, were found at Club Q after the Saturday night shooting, said Police Chief Adrian Vasquez. Investigators were still determining a motive. I wonder. And the attack was being investigated to see if it should be prosecuted as a hate crime. I wonder. Charges against the suspect will likely include first-degree murder. Police identified the gunman as Anderson Lee Aldrich, who was in custody after being treated for injuries. A man with the same name and age was arrested in 2021 after his mother reported he threatened her with, quote, a homemade bomb, multiple weapons, and ammunition, unquote, according to authorities. Police did not confirm whether it was the same person, saying they were investigating whether the suspect had been arrested before. Isn't this a very easy thing to confirm? If there was the police called on it. Okay. They don't want to confirm it's the same person because it makes them look really fucking bad if this guy, this obviously psychotic, dangerous guy, had the cops called him before, and then he's just walking around. Authorities were called around midnight. It was the 6th mass killing this month and came in a year when the nation was shaken by riot. Uvalde, Texas. Club Q is a gay and lesbian nightclub that features a drag diva drag show on Saturdays, according to its website. In addition to the drag show, Club Q... for our more undifferentiated audience members, a reminder that as a guy who's been to drag shows, you know, I'm sure a lot of people imagine these as some sort of like a occult grooming den. In reality, it's really just it's like a burlesque show, except the outfits are gayer. I don't know how else to put it, really. Swear to God, go to a drag show. It's like, oh wow, people are doing like wacky cross-dressing, half stand-up comedy, half dancing. Okay. It's fruity. It's very fruity. We know what they are, and what they are is fruity. Not that sinister. Drag events have been the focus of anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and protests in recent months as opponents, including politicians. So on and so forth. President Joe Biden said that while the motive for the shooting was not yet clear, we know that the LGBTQI... Who stops at LGBTQI+ without adding the A? Mr. Biden. What about... Mr. Biden, what about asexual people? Mr. Biden. Mr. Biden. Mr. Biden does not respect the asexual community. Ace erasure, yeah. Yeah. In all seriousness. Just a moment. There we go. Of course, we have to bring this back to the people who are truly responsible for this violence. From Aaron in the Morn, who actually unblocked me on Twitter. Whoever ended up convincing her to do that, thanks. She tweets a lot about this kind of stuff. Stochastic terror becomes real terror. Those dead in the LGBTQ plus bar Club Q only died hours ago. They were having a drag brunch today. Libs of TikTok is attacking another drag brunch in Colorado and a trans legislator only hours later. Now, Libs of TikTok, these are the people responsible for prompting a bomb threat at a children's hospital. They have essentially every like act of anti-queer violence in the past year or so has had some kind of at least ideological link to Libs of TikTok, because they're essentially like a systemic doxing account. They exist exclusively to say, I mean, look at this. This org in Colorado teaches kids how to become drag queens and helps kids safely experience the art of drag on stage. Now, I want to be clear, okay? Everyone thinks that drag is sexual. If you go and look at the outfits that are on display here. Is there anything sexual about any of these outfits? Really asking here. This is like evening attire. This is more clothing than I'm wearing right now. This is more clothing than I ever wear. They're all wearing, look at this. They're wearing a funny hat. It's campy. People are like, child drag performance, disgusting. Listen, I want to be clear, okay? And I've never been given a good counter argument for this, all right? Unless you can demonstrate that the specific drag event you're referring to has some kind of like inappropriate sexual connotation beyond people dressing wacky or like colorful, then you can't demonstrate any harm to children, okay? Like, it's like theater kid shit. Like, oh, wow, my kid's learning to do, like, it's considered socially acceptable for little girls to do ballet, right? Like, ballet is like a dance form where they wear far less clothing and, you know, far tighter clothing, frankly, that these people are. But that's, you know, that's Western civilization. That's, you know, that's Romans or something. The fact of the matter is that like 98% of the time, the concerns with like child drag, whatever, is just like people pointing and saying like, oh, gay, icky. And that's it. Now I want to be clear, by the way, there are instances of like child drag performance that I consider inappropriate. Much in the same way that public dancing doesn't have to be sexual, but can. Drag doesn't have to be sexual, but can. There have been some times where it's like, oh, well, here's like a kid doing a drag thing, and it's a little dicey, you know? I think that's kind of a ubiquitous problem. It's not as though we don't have issues with that kind of thing in, like, beauty pageants with young girls who are, like, fucking 5 or something. So I oppose those things broadly. But that's not a unique drag problem, and that's not really an imposition against any of this. Look at it, it's just Halloween costumes. Well, anyway, Libs of TikTok knows what they're doing. They're fully aware. They want this to happen, you know. I believe even Laura Boebert, tweeted condemning the violence, which tracks because she's from Colorado. So she kind of has to, but she's fine with it. They're all fine with it. They know where this goes. Yeah, Lauren Gogurt, exactly. Never forget, like, the language used against queer people is expressly genocidal at this point. The laws that Republicans are trying to pass have gotten to the point where it's like, you can't exist as a trans child. Your parents will be arrested if you are a child and your gender identity as a trans child is affirmed. And also, any educational material which informs school children about anything queer in any sense, like even in a very neutral way, that's grooming. The implication of that logic is that the existence of trans or gay people around children is itself a form of child predation, which is not a new argument. It was used against gay people for decades and still is today. The idea that queer people are like inherently predatory and therefore a danger to the children has long been used as a way of justifying violence. Now, obviously, and I hope this would be kind of like self-evident to everyone, all right? If your logic is like, hey, this group of people are inherently child predators, what the fuck do you think people are going to do? It's essentially like a call to violence. You know, it's just an indirect call to violence, you know? It's much in the same way that, like, early German propaganda against Jews, like, the German government never officially said, like, "Yeah, we're doing the Holocaust now, we're just gonna kill all Jewish people." They didn't, like, they didn't come out and just, "Oh, yeah, we're doing the death order." They never did that. So, anytime you hear from a centrist, like, "The Republicans haven't officially passed the kill all trans people law," like, shut the fuck up, okay? What the Germans did was they used their control of mass media to disseminate information that made the German people indifferent to the well-being of Jewish people, after which the job had already been done. You dehumanize them, you depersonalize them, you say they're inherent threats to your people, to your children, to your economy, to your Volk. And after you've done all of that, you don't need to come out with the, oh, actually, it's time to do the Holocaust order. You don't need to. It's not necessary. You've already made it so that once the cops start coming around looking for them, like, it's people are like, oh, yeah, for sure. And that's the goal here, right? That's the goal. So do not, yeah, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Where's that Boobert tweet? Where's that Boebert? So many ways to pronounce her name. Here it is. The news out of Colorado Springs is absolutely awful. This morning, the victims and their families are in my prayers. This lawless violence needs to end and end quickly. Of course, you know, this is, yeah. Yeah, here we go. From just a few months ago. A, quote, kid-friendly, end quote, drag show in Texas was guarded by masked Antifa guards armed with AR-15s. Remember, they only want your guns. They want to use theirs to protect their depravity. This is an anti-degeneracy argument that was, again, common to the Nazis. The essential idea being like, you know, I'm not going to say it, but like, these people are the problem. No actual argument is provided here. Well, these patterns keep reemerging. Depravity? Not depravity? Okay, depravity. I love mispronouncing things. It's my favorite thing in the world to do. No, Libs of TikTok still has this tweet up. Of course they do, because they want this. They want that outcome. Libs of TikTok knows that, especially with Elon Musk in control of Twitter, like, they're not going to get banned or blocked or whatever. They'll just leave it up. Like, they'll get some outrage for a bit, whatever. They're not going to be taken off the platform. They'll just get to do it again and again. There is no real answer to stuff like this outside of deplatforming them. What argument can you make here? They're just putting up a hit list. I feel like we're kind of like at the logical extreme of the free speech debate, where you have like the far right people like putting up like name, address, you know, open sightlines to window, and you're like, hey, can we like take this account down? And they're a centrist being like, have you tried debating them out of posting the names and addresses and workplaces of queer people? You know, like, okay. Is this the same thing as ISIS on Twitter? No, there's a big difference. ISIS doesn't threaten Americans, whereas Libs of TikTok does. We came to the conclusion after this election that the trans panic is bad politics, yet they're doubling down on their genocidal tendencies. It's almost like Republicans are aware of the fact that pretty soon they aren't going to have to win elections in a conventional sense anymore. They might be consolidating their rhetoric because they understand that mass popularity is no longer necessary. They've already achieved a critical portion of the population's support that they would be able to weather the consequences of attempting a undemocratic control. That Supreme Court shit? Yeah, Harper v. Moore. I already have it up, Posadas. No spammerino. Moore v. Harper, stop flipping it. I think Harper v. Moore sounds better, personally. What next? Oh, that just the next one right away? Okay. All right. If you insist. Hold on, Posadas John linked this. I think we have a debate at 1. I Oh, yeah, this is Alex Stein. I saw him on Twitter the other day because he was harassing Destiny and talking about Destiny's wife's pussy or something. So the cons are doing well today. Confronting armed Antifa at drag queen story time in Denton, Texas. You can always tell it's Alex Stein because he's always doing this in the camera frame. He's always doing this like pop in.
See, this guy keeps on trying to bump me every time I walk by.
You right?
Dude, I'm walking down the street.
I'm standing here. I'm allowed.
Let him go sideways. Get out of my...
Neat.
Alex, you need to leave. I'm not leaving, guys. You're trying to get in my way. I'm here on a public street. Get out of my way. Oh my God, guys, I'm so scared. The Antifa.
So that is battery, by the way. If that guy had decked him in response, I'm pretty sure that he would have been legally justified in doing so. Were any of the guards right there? No, none of the guards were right there. I guess except for this guy? Do your job, man.
My way. I'm here on a public street. Get out of my way. Oh my God, guys, I'm so scared. The Antifa, they brought their play guns, their squirt guns. Oh my God, your arts and crafts time. Did this mess up your arts and crafts time? You guys gonna be able to go home and play with your arts and crafts?
Why is it so tiny?
Look how scary they are. Oh my God, this guy's so scared. I'm so scared.
All right, I'm going to be honest. When I opened this, I was hoping we'd get something a bit more substantial, but this is genuinely embarrassing. It's a little frustrating because I know that conservatives are fine with this because, like, they're mentally toddlers, but it is very soy, yeah. It is very Marvel. No Fed posting, chat. Cut it out.
He's got his gun, his big gun. He's a big bad guy. Oh my God, I'm so happy you're protecting these children so they can go get indoctrinated and go in there for transgender story time. You're such a good American. God bless this guy. Look at him. I'm scared.
Remember when in my conversation with this guy, when he backed off every point that he made, and the only concrete thing that he ended up saying was that he would experience confusion of his gender and sexuality if he saw a feminine man? He was insistent on that point too. So that was good. Was this the guy in the suit? This guy, yeah, I talked to Alex Stein. Stein?
Dare you. I mean, these people, these are the real
Is that worth keeping in? That was like a minute of them just not reacting. Okay.
cowards. They're hiding behind their masks. They got their little guns. They think they're so tough. We're at a bookstore here in Denton, Texas, where they're trying to do drag queen story hour. And of course, the typical people here with their masks on, not able to actually stand up.
This guy didn't know if Russia was in NATO. Oh yeah, he was in like a streamer panel, and he yeah, he didn't know if Russia was in NATO or something. Yeah, he was like, oh, are they? You know, when do you feel affirmed in his gender? I mean, he's obviously not very bright, but I think like he's a groiper, right? He's a neo-Nazi. I'm pretty sure he's a neo-Nazi. He demonstrates at least the same contempt for empiricism that they do. I remember after I talked to him, he spent the whole time like lying about what he believed in, you know, like, oh, I don't want harm against trans people. I'm very concerned actually for blah, blah. And then I hung up and I was like, I'm pretty sure that guy wants to kill all of us. And I still stand by that. Because I got a feel for these things. I've got a finely tuned genocidal enthusiast detector, radar.
For what they believe in, because they're all cowards.
Would it be better for them to just stay silent? Yes. Just staying silent is the best thing to do here. There's no reason to talk to somebody.
He's so scared. I'm so scared. He's got his gun, his big gun. He's a big...
There's no reason to respond to that.
Denton, Texas, where they're trying to do drag queen story. Officer, you think it's unusual they have their assault weapons like that out here in front of a place like this? Is that normal? No comment. Dude, I'm walking down the street.
I'm standing here.
What? Wait, open carry's legal in Texas. What?
I'm allowed.
Get out.
Let him go sideways.
Get out of my...
Wait, didn't we see this at the beginning? I guess the only lesson to take from this is that if a obviously conservative guy who's filming a video tries to like shoulder check you, just shoulder check him way, way, way harder. That's my suggestion. Alex looks pretty big though. He's taller than like everyone else here.
Go sideways.
Get out of my...
All right, Alex, you need to leave.
I'm not children. But see, these are the real scaredy cats. They're gonna walk.
Wait, why is it repeating? We just saw it. Okay. He feels really proud of assaulting this guy. He wants you to see it twice. Yeah, well, you know that, like, he wanted to walk up, shoulder check, and shove one of them to the side because it's like, oh, look at me, masculine guy. Masculine guy. Like, shoving a soy boy to the ground. But it's obvious he had to put, like, a lot of unnecessary shoulder weight into doing it. Like, you can see that he initially just wanted to push the guy aside. But when he realized that he couldn't do that, he has to, like, actually get his hand on the guy's chest and, like full on, like, shove him.
Sideways.
I don't want.
See?
All right, Alex.
Because when it starts, he just has his forearm braced against this guy, but then he has to put his hand on his chest and fully push outward. So I guess he wasn't strong enough to just do it with his forearm? Maybe. He's out of breath after that.
I'm standing here.
All right, Alex, you need to leave.
Oh yeah, look at his face. A worthy opponent. I'd use all my power. All right. What a goofy goober. This video makes him look so evil, Vosh. How can anyone take this seriously? Just, okay, we need to put an end to these questions. From now on, if you're wondering, how do Republicans get away with looking so evil? Go watch Triumph of the Will or any Hitler speech and then think, were these guys in charge? Yes? Okay, well then humans are capable of this. It's always like, it upsets me as well, mostly because I grew up thinking like, well, everyone's fundamentally reasonable and you can reach out to everyone. Maybe not every single individual, but like, you can always get across to a person at least a bit, you know? It's just not true though. It's factually not true. It's completely not true. Which is unfortunate, you know, but it's like a reconciliation with you know, people's nature. Yeah. Very unfortunate, yeah. Yeah, they're sort of defeating sociology by being immune to reason. Let me retweet AOC. I'll give her the Vosh bump real quick. Maybe we should watch some old-fashioned propaganda. After my last channel strike, where I just watched a modern Republican political advertisement and got a strike? No, probably not. Have you given any thought to bringing a black Hebrew Israelite on stream to debate? No, unfortunately, this is the problem, and this is why, like, black people watching, it's all your job. I pass the torch on to you. I'm spirit bombing. You're spirit bombing. I'm giving you my energy. The problem is, like, the people who need to change here are usually, like, white leftists or white liberals. But if I argue with a black person over this, they're not going to fucking listen to me, right? It's just going to come across as, like, a white guy bullying a black person who's just trying to, like, rep their history. And the reason it's going to come across that way to those people is because they're stupid and patronizing and because they're unironically doing the whole bigotry of low expectations thing, you know? It's like, oh, well, black people are just trying to look for their history and their truth. So, like, yeah, maybe they'll come across some accidental neo-Nazi ideology, but, you know, whatever. Very silly. Very dumb. Very gay, actually. Yeah, Kojim sucks. It happens, Superjet guy. Dr. Umar debate, please. I would debate Dr. Umar, but he would never debate me. Okay, wait. Let me confirm that I have that debate at 1. Just a moment. I have to talk about Qatar. No Fed posting in chat. I'll get you guys banned for that. Or you get me banned. Alright. We have to talk about something. Something gay. Show the thing. Where was the thing I was looking for? Wow, that's porn. Let's make sure Twitter's muted until I find the thing I'm looking for. That's very porn. Wow, that's like up close. God, did I really not like the thing that I was looking for? Why am I so stupid? Porn. Man, there is a lot of porn on Twitter. It just doesn't exist. It's none of that. Did they delete the tweet? I swear to God, I liked that tweet. Just gone. Gone forever. Dead. Even. God damn it. Whatever. Guys, have you heard of a place called QATAR? The answer is no, you haven't. It's not a real place. It's not a real country. It's a natural gas reserve with a stadium at its center. You've probably heard at least a little bit about the stadium. I wanted to talk just briefly about this in one of my very infrequent sort of divulgences into sports and sports adjacent topics. So, Qatar, and don't worry, we're not reading the whole article. It's a country, ostensibly, a very small one. Look at that little dot over there. Wow, like a lot of countries in the Middle East. It is, its economy is heavily dependent on natural gas, oil, or other fossil fuel reserves. It is unique in that, despite a total population of 2.6 million, only 313,000 of them are Qatari citizens. So that's like 10% of the people in the country are actual citizens of the country. And about 90% of them are expatriates. So, expatriate, of course, is a resident who is not a citizen. A lot of those people are slaves. See, Qatar is a very high GDP per capita, and that's because it's another one of those like magnate countries where you have a bunch of ultra wealthy people who then funnel in migrant labor to do a lot of the actual like maintaining your country stuff, that's a classic. Dubai is like sort of the world hotspot for this. But I wanted to go over just briefly, if I may, a bit of information surrounding the state of the migrancy in Qatar and what actually built the stadium that the World Cup is being hosted in. It's pronounced Qatar. It's pronounced Qatar. That's stupid. I'm calling it Qatar. I don't even care. So, for those of you who don't know, close this, close that. There was a story that dropped somewhat recently, in this one about a year ago, that's been circling since. 6,500 migrant workers have died in Qatar since World Cup awarded. I believe the World Cup was awarded in 2010 or 10 years ago, something like that. Or a great number of migrant workers from India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka have died in Qatar since it won the right to host the World Cup 10 years ago. And it continues as such. I wanted to talk a bit about the, I guess, the state of the migrancy there. In the only form that I know how, which is reading out loud an article in a dramatic voice. Stick with me for a second, okay? Our dreams never came true. These men helped build Qatar's World Cup. Now they are struggling to survive. Kamal was standing outside a shop with other migrant workers, having finished yet another grueling workday. And when he says, a few others were arrested this August. Without explanation, the 24-year-old says he was put into a vehicle and for the next week kept in a Qatari jail, the location and name of which he does not know. When they arrested me, I couldn't say anything, not a single word, as I was so scared, he told CNN Sport, speaking at home in southern Nepal, where he has been working on a farm since being deported 3 months ago. Kemal, CNN has changed the names of the Nepali workers to protect them from retaliation, is one of many migrant workers wanting to tell the world of their experiences in Qatar, a country that will this month host one of the sport's greatest, most lucrative spectacles, the World Cup, a tournament which usually unites the world as millions watch the spectacular goals and carefully choreographed celebrations. Blah, blah, blah. First World Cup to be held in the Middle East. Most of the build-up in this tournament has been on more sober matters, that of human rights, from the death of migrant workers to the conditions many have endured in Qatar to LGBTQ and women's rights. Would it surprise you to know that Qatar has a not stellar human rights record? Kemal says he has yet to be paid the 7,000 Qatari Riyal bonus, around 2,000 he says he is entitled to from his previous employers, nor 7,000 Riyal in insurance for injuring 2 fingers at work. Describes the condition in the cell he shared with 24 other Nepali migrant workers. He says he was provided with a blanket and a pillow, but the mattress on the floor he had to sleep on was riddled with bed bugs. Inside the jail, there were people from Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, Sudan, Nepal, Africa, Philippines. There were around 14 to 15 units. In one jail, there were around 250 to 300 people, around 24 to 25 per room. When they take you to the jail, they don't give you a room right away. They keep you in a veranda. After a day or two, once a room is empty, they keep people from one country in one room. Using a smuggled phone, he spoke to friends, one of whom, he says, brought his belongings, including his passport, to the jail, though he says he was sent home after the Nepali embassy had sent a paper copy of his passport to the jail. CNN has reached out to the embassy, but is yet to receive a response. When they put me on the flight, I started thinking, why are they sending workers back all of a sudden? It's not 1, 2, or 10 people. They're sending 150, 200, 300 workers on one flight. Some workers who were just roaming outside wearing work clothes were sent back. They don't even allow you to collect your clothes. They just send you back in the clothes you're wearing. Kemal believes he was arrested because he had a second job, which is illegal under Qatar's 2004 labor law and allows authorities to cancel a worker's work permit. He says he worked an extra 2 to 4 hours a day to supplement his income as he was not making enough money working 6 8-hour days a week. Qatar has a 90-day grace period in which a worker can remain in the country illegally without another sponsor, but if they have not had their permit renewed or reactivated in that time, they risk being arrested or deported for being undocumented. He says he received paperwork upon his arrest, which Amnesty International says would likely have explained why he was being detained, but as it was in Arabic, he did not know what it said and no translator was provided. A Qatari government official told CNN in a statement, "Any claims that workers are being jailed or deported without explanation is untrue. Action is only taken in very specific cases, such as if an individual worker participates in violence." The official added that 97% of all eligible workers were covered by Qatari's wage protection system, established in 2018, which ensures wages are paid in full and on time. Further work was being done to strengthen the system, the official said. So, I want to talk about living in a society for a moment, okay? The history of labor movements and the history of labor exploitation has largely come down to the differentiation between different economic classes. Marx would love this, okay? He loved this very much. You know, you have slave societies, you have feudal societies, which often also had slaves. After we moved out of the old feudal system in the United States, the South still fought to keep slavery as their primary mode of production for their plantations. And even after the abolition of slavery, there has still been a protracted effort to separate society into different economic classes, which allows them to be more easily divided across the labor strata. What we are seeing here in Qatar and in Saudi Arabia and the UAE and several other countries is a use of citizenship to mark a clear distinction along which like the labor lines are drawn. We do this in the United States as well. You see, guys, if ICE really wanted to deport a lot of illegal immigrants, why don't they just sweep our agricultural production along the southern border and in California? They would be able to find millions of undocumented immigrants. The reason why they don't do that is because without those workers, we would starve. We need those workers. In reality, we maintain their undocumented status politically. We maintain it because it means that they remain a source of incredibly cheap labor that can be legally exploited without many concerns because they're not citizens, and therefore they are denied many of the protections that citizens are given. This is just a more extreme form of that. In its worst, what we're seeing here is essentially modern day slavery. What happens is work recruiters will travel to very poor areas of Southeast Asian and African countries because there are, hey, lots of poor people there. And they'll say, hey, we'll pay for the ticket, buddy. You come on over here to our wealthy, developed Qatari nation, and we'll give you good work. We'll pay you a lot, too. Now, what often happens, of course, is that these workers are lied to about basically every level of this system. Their wages, the work they'll be doing, the conditions they'll be subjected to. It's a fairly common practice to take away their passport if they once they arrive, meaning that they legally no longer have the ability to exit the country and return back to their home country. Because they are, because they literally can't cross borders anymore. So what we're talking about here is like human trafficking followed by like work or you'll be arrested. And oftentimes they're unpaid or subjected to conditions which are fairly lethal in nature. I'm comfortable calling this slavery of a modern kind. I mean, we're talking about people being forced to work, often for incredibly low or no compensation. Following human trafficking. I mean, it's whatever terminology you want to use here. It's not good. Qatar's 10% citizen population, as opposed to like the rest of the migrancy they encourage and bring into the country. This is kind of like it's a way of using statehood and citizenship to draw lines that previously would have been defined by aristocracy versus feudal serfs. That's what they're doing. You realize that, right? Because the goal before was like serfs didn't own anything; they worked the land of their lords. The lords could do whatever they wanted, really. And what we're doing here is using like the trappings of modern statehood to bring about the same basic conditions. Oftentimes, the exploitation of labor as a class is about finding ways to suitably differentiate those groups. It was easy to do back in the in the feudal days because there was often like a civic or sometimes religious justification to the supremacy of the nobles and certainly of the monarchy. Under slavery, scientific racism was developed and iterated upon as a way of logically justifying slavery as a social system. Explaining why it was actually fair and good. And what this is an exploitation of, I'm going to say it, neoliberal economic practice as a way of bringing about pre-modern labor differentiation. Because what this is here is right to work, isn't it? Take a look at this from in The Economist. The world also looks at migrant workers in Qatar through a distorted lens. For one thing, the emigrant is more open to foreign labor than America or any other European country. Native Qataris make up only 12% of the population, a proportion supposedly more enlightened countries simply would not tolerate. Although these migrants are sometimes mistreated, the wages, etc., etc. I care not to read the article. Qatar is actually very open to foreign labor. Oh, look at how willing they are to open their country up to other people. Oh, they're able to make more money here than they ever could back in their home countries, Who was the person who wrote that article back in, I think, 2013, following a big, workplace accident somewhere outside the modern West, where they wrote, like, yes, it's okay for different countries to have different, labor safety standards, because the free will of the market determines that there's a higher monetary demand for better labor conditions in the West, so blah-de-blah-de-blah. Why poor foreign people should live more dangerous lives at the, for the benefit of the wealthy corporations that exploit them. Yeah, I think it was the explosion in India, something like that. Here we go. Oh, this isn't even the one that I was thinking of, but yeah, in defense of sweatshops, they're often the best and fastest way for the poor to escape poverty. A classic thing people do because of sweatshops, escape poverty. It's a thing they love to do there. When was this from? 2014. This would have been around the time. There is a there is like a wing of like liberal libertarian sentiment that is all about like, yeah, actually these horrific labor conditions and around the world, these are actually like the forces of modernity. Oh, Matt Iglesias. Yeah, I think Matt was the one who wrote that, the one that I'm thinking of specifically. Yes, different places have different safety rules, and that's okay. Matthew Iglesias. What's up, my man? It's very plausible that one reason American workplaces have gotten safer over the decades is that we now tend to outsource a lot of factory explosion risk to places like Bangladesh, where 87 people just died in a building collapse. This kind of consideration leads Eric Loomis to the conclusion we need a unified global standard for safety, by which he does not mean that Bangladeshi levels of workplace safety should be implemented in the United States. I think that's wrong. Bangladesh may or may not need tougher workplace safety rules, but it's entirely appropriate for Bangladesh to have different and indeed lower workplace safety standards than the United States. Literally, like, oh no, wow, you cuck, you bleeding heart liberal. You don't want people to die in factory explosions that are caused by the negligence and cost-saving measures of the bourgeoisie. Well, don't you realize the free hand of the market has a higher, places a higher premium on workplace safety in the West? Don't you know that Westerners' lives are literally worth more monetarily? Yeah, what Qatar is doing is nothing more than the logical extension of liberal or neoliberal economic policy as a way of reinventing slavery. It is the same logic as those who say that like having prisoners work from prison for like slavery wages is acceptable because at least it gives them something, because otherwise they'd be making no wages. It's the logic that sweatshops are acceptable because they're better than subsistence farming. It's the idea that anything can be justified as long as it adheres to some free market logic, because the free market is necessarily a liberating force. Truly, genuinely disgusting. But that's what we're dealing with here. So I just want, a lot of people are framing what's happening with Qatar as some kind of like Islam thing. They're framing it as some kind of like, oh yes, this despotic, monarchist, like oil magnate state, piece of shit in the Middle East, But it's not that. What we're seeing here, this is us. We did this. The World Cup was essentially bribed into holding the World Cup here in 2022, in spite of the massive human rights issues and the projected dangers and the higher cost in the weather and so on and so forth. The World Cup heavily influenced, at the very least, by Western interests. We are the baddies here. We justify these systems. The Qatari state have also covered up a number of migrant workers. Yeah. The Qatari state is disgusting and regressive and monarchical and bad in almost every imaginable way. But I want to make it clear that the specific thing we're looking at right here, that is the mistreatment of migrant workers, this is a direct product. This is like the IMF and the World Bank are like double thumbs upping this. Not literally, of course. That'd be optically very bad. But this is an extension of the same economic principles. Obviously, what they do would be considered illegal in like US or many European countries. But that doesn't really matter, right? Because, well, as Matthew Iglesias put it, maybe you don't need the same labor protections in Qatar that you do in America. Maybe there are just going to be different labor protections, and maybe that's right. What is the way towards economic prosperities for countries like Bangladesh? That is very tangential. Oh yeah, I saw this. The World Cup president, when he faced criticism for the fact that he hosted this in like a despotic, like slave state, basically, FIFA president Gianni Infantino has accused critics of Qatar's human rights record of staggering hypocrisy and racism in a bizarre and incendiary attack on the eve of the 2022 World Cup finals. In a 57-minute diatribe which frequently drew gasps of astonishment, Infantino claimed the Western nations were in no position to give morality lessons to Qatar based on their past and current behavior. We've been told many, many lessons from some Europeans from the Western world, he said. I think for what we Europeans have been doing to the last 300 years, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years before starting to give moral lessons to people. Interesting. It's always interesting how the greatest perpetrators of human misery are willing to deflect from criticism of their behavior by pointing out that actually, look at me, a Westerner, directly sponsoring like human rights abuses through my collaboration with a monarchical state. But this is kind of like an extension of people framing this as an Islam thing, right? Like, this guy's wrong no matter what. However, a lot of people are genuinely thinking of this as like a Qatari thing specifically, but this guy's in on it. The World Cup is predominantly, like of Western interest, as is most everything international in the world. We facilitate this. Infantino also played down concerns over whether LGBTQ plus fans face danger in a country where gay people risk torture and imprisonment, and insisted that Qatar, with FIFA's help, had reformed workers' rights beyond all recognition. The speech began, though, with Infantino appearing to suggest that his own experiences as the son of Italian immigrants in Switzerland gave him a deep understanding of migrant workers and other minorities in Qatar. Today I feel Qatari, he said. Today I feel Arabic. Today I feel African. Today I feel gay. Today I feel disabled. Today I feel like a migrant worker. Me too. I know what it means to be discriminated against. As a child, I was bullied because I had red hair and freckles. Plus, I was Italian, so imagine. I love this. This is quintessentially Italian. Later, it was pointed out that in his opening monologue, he had missed out on half the world's population. I feel like a woman, too, Infantino added. There we go. Could transitioning have saved her? Look at what he's saying here. Qatar is offering the migrant workers this opportunity, he said. They do it in a legal way. We in Europe, we close our borders. We don't allow practically any workers from these countries who are trying to come work legally in our countries. It's always whataboutism. If you really care about the destiny of these migrant workers, these young people, Europe can do as Qatar did. Create some channels, some legal channels, to increase the percentage of those workers to come to Europe. Give them some work. Give them some future. Remarkable. Are Italians black? Yes. I have nothing more to say of this. I just want people to understand that while there are things Qatar is doing that are specific to its like Islamic culture, that is like the homophobia and such, like, let us not delude ourselves. Islamic countries have a tendency to have pretty bad civil rights records on those issues. The migrant worker issue, the human rights issue broadly, is just a facilitation of very basic, like, modern economic logic that's employed all around the world. And the people who push austerity in the West are the same people who don't really see an issue with stuff like that outside of the West. Qatar also banned alcohol at the World Cup at the last moment. Yeah. 11th hour U-turn. Phenomenal stuff. FIFA confirms move as official beer brand says, "This is awkward." Very nice. Get me out of this segment. Let me out of here. Kanye announces presidential bid. Milo Yiannopoulos is his campaign manager, and Nick Fuentes spotted in the background of the video. When I say Blitler, I mean Blitler.
Come to the office. This is Milo right here. How you doing, Milo? Working on the campaign. Oh, right on. Is that an announcement?
I guess it is. Thanks. I accept.
So it's all good. So boom, right here, we got the Balenciaga right here, but it's the Yay 24 merch on it. You know what I mean? This is. Hey guys, what's your name?
Giuliano.
This is Giuliano right here. Hi, he was filming me outside, so I said, just come inside. Let's check out what we're doing right here.
How are you guys?
Good.
Are we in a factory?
Right here, so this is where we're cutting patterns. We're making the coat. Johan, can you take these out the back and lay them out so we can show them?
Thanks for having me here, Colin.
Absolutely. So we got some of that right here. That's the Yay 24. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. So you are running.
Yes.
That's awesome, Colin.
Just stepping on all of them.
Simple as that.
So, you know, advisors can tell me, you know,
Yeah.
you should say this, you should say that, you know. It's just we're moving towards the future. Like, so what we do here is I'll cut up, you know, 100 hoodies from Yeezy, from Balenciaga, from the stuff we did at Gap, from the stuff we did at Adidas, and everything we do is going to cost $20. We need to make sure that everyone can receive the same level of cuts, the same level.
Is this a publicity stunt, or do you think he expects to win? Kanye is mentally ill, and I sincerely doubt at this point that he's capable of doing much more besides being led around by people around him who want to exploit his illness. The real harm here isn't that he wins, because of course he's not going to. The real problem is that he's going to be like a lightning rod for white nationalists like Milo Yiannopoulos and Nick Fuentes, who are going to use the publicity that they get from standing next to Kanye to further normalize white nationalist talking points. This is also going to be used as a hook for black voters to try to get them either disenfranchised or invested in the Republican Party by using Kanye's fame with the black community and his goodwill, whatever he has left, which he does still have plenty of it left with some people, as a way of kind of like hooking more over to the right.
Food, same level of water, same level of education, the curriculum, the engineering. We're beings with
Isn't he a bit too unhinged to be manipulated nicely? No, people like Kanye are incredibly easy to manipulate. The image they give of like a free spirit or like a rejection of it's not true at all. If you have a very basic understanding of like how to talk to people like Kanye, they're like impressionable children. They're looking for ideas to be given and told that they're their own. And once they have that, they'll like run off and justify it to the ends of the earth.
Engineering opportunities. We're getting past the.
I don't think most black people are that stupid or gullible. Wrong. Everyone is, including black people. You gotta lower your standards for everyone.
Past. We're focused on the future.
Right.
Here. I'll walk you out. Oh, wait a second. We got some of the drip coming in.
All right. New stuff, Kai?
Grippy.
What'd you say?
Those are new?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I know this is an oversized look. You wear oversized?
Yeah.
Here, take this.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kai.
Make another one. Here.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, Kai.
Absolutely. It's Jay, bro. It's Jay.
Yay.
You can call me Kai. You're not doing that. Just
Sorry again. Yeah, we're too used to it.
It's going to take us a while to update, right?
Yeah.
But this is the update. We are the update. That's all we need to do. As a species, we need to update together. Everything's been so divisive.
Yep, that's Nick. That's Fuentes right there. Could recognize that virgin walk and feminine phrenology from a mile away. My femboy detector never fails. Oh yeah, 100%.
Divisive. Think about when they say diversity. People look at that like it's a good thing, but we're the United States of America.
Are we sure this is facts? The video with Kanye? What do you mean? It's a video with Kanye.
Universe. We're a university. We're a republic.
Wait, was that really Nick? Yeah. Yes, I'm not joking. That's Nick. Can't you tell? Your femboy detectors are way off. It's the right height, too.
So divisive. Think about when they...
Hi.
Well, that'll be fun to cover. But are they fucking? It could be a JBP situation. Kanye is back on Twitter. Well, that's not really surprising. I love that. We're kind of entering, I guess, like the end game of celebrity culture, where you can have like big artists just to be neo-Nazis and nobody cares. Yes, Trump is also back on Twitter. Very wacky that... I mean, we all expected that would happen. I don't think anyone here is surprised. My man's nearly up to 100 million followers, because everyone's waiting to see. Everyone's waiting. I really don't think he'll draw many black votes, at least votes that weren't already Republicans. It doesn't matter if he draws many, even if he gets a couple percentage points, it's statistically significant. I already he's not coming back anyway because Trump hates Elon. Trump has said he'll stay on Truth Social, but also, like, nothing Trump or Elon says should ever be taken to account. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to resist the urge. I think he'll tweet eventually, even if it's just to promote Truth Social. Yes, Andrew Tate is black as well. Bosh, I'm black and this whole Yee thing hurts. Yeah, I get that, but like he's been crazy for years now. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there are definitely like artists that I like. I guess if I found out that like I don't know. Miyazaki was actually a dipshit. I guess that really I don't know. It's yeah. In the black community, there are a lot of disenfranchised youth. There will definitely be a couple points of distraction. Yeah, what you have to understand is that, like, everyone is really stupid, except for people who watch my content. You guys are all right. At least some of you. At least a couple of you. I'm all right. No, I'm not. I'm not all right. I'm stupid too. Okay, so every human is stupid. And unfortunately, you have to account for that when you're talking about, like, well, how many people would be influenced by one of the largest black celebrities with an enormous social media presence, becoming a neo-Nazi and publicizing it while getting signal boosted by social media tech owners and, like, the broader Republican establishment? And the answer is like, well, yeah, actually, that could move quite a few people. Now, Vosh, it's been years of this shit. People just shrug it off as soon as an album drops. Well, a lot of people aren't that invested in politics, so they just think it's like, oh, he said some cancelable stuff. I don't understand why anyone thought he was a genius to begin with. He's been spouting crazy shit since 2000. I mean, people like Elon, and all Elon has ever done publicly is fail and embarrass himself. But, you know, again, you just gotta have lower standards. Just lower your standards. Apparently, Tate was DMing Hassan. Is this actually Hassan's DMs? I guess Hassan would let his phone battery get that low. Yeah. Are you still wear those pink dresses and think women drive better than you? Hassan in dress. Okay. I don't know if this is actually real, but I'll assume that it is. It doesn't matter to me. Remember, a new age is dawning. It's the end times, okay? Nothing matters anymore except for relentless dogmatism. It's real to me, exactly. That's Hassan's editor. That's a fan channel, I think. One of, yeah, right, because right now, Twitter is essentially nothing but large conservative accounts saying, like, haha, now that Trump is back, the left is really running scared. 200K likes, 500K likes of, like, a neo-Nazi saying, haha, I'm still here. Like, that kind of stuff, you know? There's not really... I left. I'm on Tumblr now. I can't go to Tumblr, man. There's not even porn there. What the fuck? What's the fun of being on a social media platform if you're not scrolling through your feed and occasionally seeing, like, a dragon with an 8-foot dick lying on top of a sedan, you know? Very dumb. There is Tumblr just lifted nudity guidelines. Nudity and porn are not the same thing. Raise your standards, dipshits. Jesus Christ. Well, you jerking it to fucking softcore porn? You jerking off the fucking Sears and Robux catalogs? What are you guys doing? Well, you taking a look at a goddamn Abercrombie and Fitch model and busting it to that? What are you talking about here? Come on. My God. You people. I should just have the debate now, probably. The person who I'm talking to is apparently watching the stream, so if you are watching the stream, then fucking DM me. And then we'll talk when I finish peeing. Maybe Pixelaric, we'll have to see. These chatters are still stuck in the Google naked women on images phase. Ugh. Ugh. My whole timeline is pro-Trump, and all I did was follow 2 pro wrestlers and your masochistic ass. Okay, I'm just going to say this, and you guys got to understand this, all right? This is the difference between you guys and Republicans. You guys aren't NPCs. Republicans have no lives outside of owning the libs. These whether they're like 14-year-old libertarian conservatives, whether they're like boomer racists or whatever, these people live to promote their political ideology. Why? Because they're terrified of black and trans people. They're dedicated to fear. It is their driving emotion. It determines everything they do. You guys have other passions and interests. When left-leaning people are on an app that they see getting taken over by the right, they want to leave because it's unpleasant. When right-leaning people are the minority on the app, you know what they want to do? They don't want to leave. They want to stay and make everyone else miserable. Unfortunately, in this respect, they're stronger than you are. You're interested in your well-being. They're interested in making you suffer. To that extent, their motivating force is far greater than yours. You migrate elsewhere. They stay. So, like, this is... They're going to keep taking over social media spaces. Yeah, this is why right-wing echo chambers fail. You can't own the libs in an echo chamber. Exactly. Here, let me pee and then we'll talk to the... Yeah. All right. Yo. I get that, Sonja, I do. Unfortunately, we're all going to be suffering soon. The hardships that you have all experienced politically in your lives are nothing compared to the torrent of suffering that we're all going to go through as this planet descends into global fascism and climate crisis. Uh, so you know the strong will learn to live well in spite of this and prepare appropriately. Quit doomering. It's not doomering. It's gonna happen. Fear-mongering Vosh as usual. You know, so far, I've been proven right on every point that I've made, right? For 3.5 years, I've had this channel, and every single year since I started, I've been insisting, all this is like a predicating force to global fascism. Republicans aren't actually interested in democracy. Every, successive year, they're building power until the point... so far, I've been right in all of this, It's just, when I started, pointing out the genocidal rhetoric they were using against trans people, it escalated, almost right after, every major point I've been correct on. Yeah, update your fucking passports. Okay? It costs like $80. Save your money if you need to. It's worth it. Lasts a decade. Yeah. Except the nod, you got the nod wrong. I just don't understand what you guys mean by the nod. I know this is like a whole thing. If I'm on a hiking trail and I walk by somebody else, I want to say hi to them. I guess maybe if we both have earbuds in, like that, like a little wave, like on a hiking trail. You can't afford this elegant stop. I get, for me, it's like there are two kinds of interactions that I want to have. One of them is I say hi, and the other one is I don't acknowledge them at all. Like any situation where I would want to quickly dip my head, I just wouldn't acknowledge them because I'm in a city. Like, I'm passing by 10 people a second. I don't need to nod at everyone I walk by. That'd be ridiculous. You nod up for friends, down for strangers? No, I say hi to my friends. Vosh, you're fine. They're gaslighting you? Yeah. You really don't know about the nod? You people are... I feel like like a bunch of teenagers are like giggling while trying to explain what a Dutch oven is to me. Like, like, I know what nodding is, okay? I just don't, I don't like, this isn't like a thing I iterate, like every interaction that I have. I usually, like, hello, if I'm walking by someone on like a hiking trail, because it was about a hiking trail. The original context was a hiking trail. On a hiking trail, when you're away from civilization, I think it's polite to say hi to people as you walk by them. Especially if it's like a lady or something, because I feel like if I just grimly nodded to some chick that I walk by, I don't know, like, I feel like there's like a level of grace that you have to better express when you're farther away from other people. Misogynist? Okay, you know how back in the days when we just had feudal villages, people would like extend hospitalities? Like, if you met someone out in the woods or on a field in a forest, you wouldn't just nod. You would like exchange what you're doing because the other person could legit just be a highwayman to murder you. You know, like you actually had to talk with people. Hiking is different. Well, you're still like far enough out that I think it's appropriate to exchange. This is some holistic crap we don't have to deal with. I don't even know. See, listen to Yen Boys. Vosh, as an avid hiker in Washington, almost everyone I pass says hello. I never see people nod. It's literally 90% hellos, how are yous, and excuse me's. Yeah, because on hiking, because I'm getting lectured to by a bunch of fucking neats who've never gone outside, and they nod because they're boy motors who need to like quietly acknowledge the cashier without talking because they haven't done voice training. Like, but yeah, when you're on a hiking trail, like fucking, like, yeah, hello, because you're on a hiking trail. Why not be friendly? Okay. Shit, Vosh got me pinned. Yeah, I know my audience. Congrats on finding the one chatter. Yeah, I did. I did find them. Yeah. All right, hold on. All right, we're going to talk to somebody who disagrees with me. Vosh, I hike a lot, and I can attest almost everyone says at least something. Yeah, I know. Again, I'm being lectured to by Neats.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, I feel like as that trans person you were talking about, I good time for me to join.
Hello. Yes, as always, my my prescience astounds chat, and they donate to me as a reward. Yeah, give us name, pronouns, anything else you want to tell us, and also what are you mad at me about?
Yeah, I'm Cram, pronouns she, her, they, them is fine. I know how I sound. I mainly on the internet debate, talk to like racists and conspiracy theorists, like that anti-misinformation thing's my jam. My contention is you're super bad at talking to white racists, and it sometimes is to their benefit.
All right, that's a strong contention. I'm often told the opposite. Hit me up.
Well, I will say that first off, I also watched past debates. I think you were a bit better like last year when you did. I noticed like you had a series of debates with people who are like ethnostaters, and it seemed all you wanted to talk about was like policy and the morals. You know, the things those people don't care about. And I feel it's more on the fact that racism is dumb, you know?
Well, I agree that racism is dumb. I don't know how convincing that is as an argument on its own, though.
Right. Well, I mean, I think like if you convince someone who believes in an ethno state that that's like bad for white people or morally wrong, they're still a racist. In fact, they're a racist who I guess has more like doable policy positions that makes them worse. I think it is definitely possible to point out the logical inconsistencies. I read an interesting book on how it seems the best way to deal with misinformation is to point out like the cognitive biases and the ways people trick them, like cherry picking stats, you know, all that shit. So I think that should be more the focus.
Well, I think the issue is that I don't think you can actually convince people out of being racist, because it's kind of like a gut fear response or disgust response usually. I think the most you can do is make them look really stupid to an audience,
Yeah,
and that's what I usually try to focus on. I don't know how reliably you can directly convince somebody in a debate because people tend to get really locked into their positions, especially when they're debating them publicly. So my goal is usually like if there are people in the audience who might lean more towards that person's positions, or people in the YouTube comments or anything who might initially support his positions, if I can make him look really dumb, that's usually kind of like an emotional jolt to them. It makes them less comfortable in their position. There's nothing more agonizing than supporting a position and watching somebody defend it ineptly. It can be a really effective way at like kind of knocking a person out of the way that they're thinking.
right, but like saying they are immoral and they don't care about black people, that doesn't even make them look stupid. If you could be say like, well, there is, you know, no evidence to support this. You know, we have like with the IQ gap, IQ was popularized to for white supremacist purposes. And for the past 100 years, we just have more and more evidence of all these environmental factors and none on the race factors, right? These people try to think like they're the arbiters of truth and logic. So I think embarrassing them, saying, well, you're just chasing ghosts, is potentially more effective as a way.
I think I tend to hit on that. But when I say stuff like you just don't like black people, a lot of racist people don't want to accept that they're racist. Generally, the way I think of it is if a person has reached the stage of racism where they accept the fact that they just dislike a group of people and that's that, I think that's actually relatively rare. I think that most people create justifications, right? Like think of scientific racism, basically what you're talking about with like IQ, in the sense that it was like a legitimizing mechanism for white supremacy and for slavery, you know? But they had to create their justification. Morally, they didn't have to. If they just adopted like a set of axioms that were purely white supremacist in nature, you know, just purely like we're good, they're bad, that's it, they wouldn't have to justify it in any other way. But they did. Because I think a lot of people back then wanted to think like, oh, we're not monsters who just have an arbitrary bias, you know? We're just abiding by a given set of principles. When I'm saying you just don't like black people, I'm trying to remind them or like hit in them like there isn't a justification. Like there's nothing else here except for your emotions. It doesn't always land, of course, but there's not really like a reliable way to have these conversations anyway, I don't think. It's pretty difficult to de-radicalize people.
Yeah, I mean, I try to do it, and at times in private have been successful. I like half agree with you there. The thing is, though, like people will move to one way to justify their racist to another. Like before scientific racism, there was phrenology. Before that, there were religious arguments, biblical arguments. Before that, there was the polygenesis theory. And now there's the like crime stats. Like Biden for the crime bill was like, yeah, it might be our fault that they're in poverty and crime's an issue, but we have to, you know, arrest them anyway. Or there's Ben Shapiro's cultural arguments. So I feel like by saying, okay, the scientific racism is debunked, you don't like black people, they'll be like, okay, and then come up with another justification because you're not leading them to how they got those bad points.
But they'll never listen to you if you open with that. If you're like, hey, you know, the reason why you have these racial biases is because you have an arbitrary and irrational fear or disgust response, which is a product of tribalistic xenophobia that doesn't actually, like, you can, like, it's pretty easy to get at the heart of it, but making them listen is another thing, you know? I feel like you have to deconstruct what they say and what they believe first. And the best way to do that, I think, is just to make them look emotional, right? Because the big thrust with historically with racial supremacy especially is like sort of hiding behind the aesthetic of reasonability, you know? We're not just a bunch of hateful lunatics. Actually, we're very principled, and these are our principles, and their principles are like dog shit, you know? But it gets at their feelings a little bit. If you accuse them basically of being like emotional children who are like post hoc justifying everything they believe. So I try to work back to that, but you can't just open with that. If you open with that, then it's like, okay, we've kind of blown your load early, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I think it's important to go with it of like, okay, prove to me you think black people are stupider. Why do you think that? Have them push themselves into the corner. Like, I think I've tried all different tactics talking to conspiracy theorists. I think it's very similar to racism, where approach it from like, okay, I'll hear you out. Show me your evidence. And obviously their evidence won't add up. And if that's their best argument, I feel like you try to like put words in their mouths. You say, oh, you just don't like black people, instead of cornering them into, you know, running through all their bullshit justifications.
I tried to.
And
What's the
by
last
doing,
argument I had with a racist? I'm trying to think.
I remember there was one on that Papa Fesh guy's thing where it just
Oh,
ended
well,
with
that guy was too
him.
retarded to even talk to.
Well,
That's
yes,
yeah. Past the
yes,
point, all you can do is insult them because they're so flagrantly the problem. Like you need
yeah,
it's like trying to box somebody, except like they're actually an amorphous gelatin puddle on the ground. I don't know if I would win a boxing fight against a jelly puddle on the ground because I don't even know if I could hit them above belt. Like it's
mhm,
so, you know what I mean? It's really difficult. It's difficult to find good racists to debate because it is an ideology that sort of lends itself towards being an idiot. Actually,
I
no, actually, I think I'm wrong on that. The smart racists won't debate in it. That's what I actually
yeah,
think. The smart ones know that they're aware of the fact that this isn't something they can stand up to like directly, so they won't debate it. They hide behind euphemisms and will never actually open up directly about what they believe until after they have the social power to just have you killed or jailed.
yeah.
At which point they don't
I
need to
mean,
debate you.
I think like the most harmful racist and the smartest is Ben Shapiro. I think Shapiro's worse than Fuentes. Which one's trying to debate you? You know, I agree with you there.
Yeah, in terms of broader harm done, yeah. Though
Yeah,
eventually people like if things go far enough down the road, people like Ben Shapiro won't be around anymore, and people like Fuentes will be like communication leads. So like right now in an ostensibly liberal society, people like Ben are on top. But if things go far enough down the road, then people like Ben can no longer be on top for a variety of reasons. Um, so it kind of depends on like what stage you're in, you know? But to be
yeah,
clear, Nick Fuentes doesn't want to debate me either. Nick Fuentes just wants my attention. He wants me to call him his special little PogChamp. I've seen the guy debate. It's not like he has any like ideas he wants to contend with. You know, he just
yeah.
wants to talk.
I mean, yeah, he lost the debate to Destiny once. That shows how low he is.
Destiny used to be
But
quite a good advocate for anti-racist positions. I
but
assume he
yeah,
still is when he's not feeling spiteful against the left in that moment.
yeah, I'll move off this point. I just want to say I just feel like also if you don't focus on the logical issues, which I think are the primary things, you know, if you can't really believe in an ethno state and that people are equal or there's no reason to, you know, but I think also by ignoring the logical issues, the fact based issues, that's when they can go and be like, oh, yeah, I was emotional, but, you know, he didn't actually prove anything. Like, you know?
No, I know. I mean, I agree with that. The biggest frustration that I have when it comes to talking with racists really is with the like too dumb to argue kind of deal, where it's impossible to make a good point unless your conversational partner is willing to give you a bit of room. You know, like very basic stuff. Like sometimes, you know, you'll like explain something and ask a leading question because you need them to answer it for you to continue with your point, and they'll just ignore what you've said and continue like saying their own thing, or they'll repeat stuff over and over. And in that environment, it's virtually impossible to actually like get anything. My conversation with Michael Tracy is another example where the motherfucker filibusters. I think like I talked with Michael Tracy, which past a point was just me insulting him and like making jokes at his expense. And I think I got this from an email where they said like, "Oh, Destiny like tore into you for that conversation." And then Destiny had a debate with Michael Tracy that went the exact same way, and it was like, "Oh, now I see why Vosh just insulted him at the end." It was like, I will use my civil debate tactics to like uncrack or to like crack this walnut or something. And it's like, well, no, it's Michael Tracy. Like, and that's my feeling, right? Like it's Michael
Yeah.
Tracy, you know? Um,
Yeah. I mean,
there's only
like,
so much you can do with working with that clay.
yeah, I mean, I think it's just like, again, I'll move on to a related point, I guess, which is I also think that sometimes some of your arguments are bad or you are just misinformed. Like I remember when there was the debate with Luna Oi's husband. I forget his name, where you were like, he's like, well, the Holocaust was based on, shitty ideas. I guess that's my point, and your point with the moral argument. Both are true, and you said, well, like Jews had an outside role in banking in the Weimar Republic. Now, the thing is, as far as I can tell, that's not actually true. So that's the kind of thing where stupid people will look at that and, be stupid, and you just threw that out there.
But it is true. The problem that I had was that non-compete was rejecting moral analysis. He was saying that he just used material analysis, which is an analytical framework, not a moral system. And he was saying well, the Nazis were wrong to do the Holocaust because they were wrong in what they said about the Jews. So I said, okay, so what if they had been right? The Jews did have a disproportionately large presence in the banking sector, which they did. You can find that on the Holocaust Memorial website. There are reasons why that happened. It's not conspiratorial or anything. It also didn't give them any real social power, obviously.
But
the problem, but he couldn't engage with that because he was objectively wrong. Because his framework, so the logic then would be oh, so okay, well, if the Nazis had that point, then would that mean the Holocaust was justified? Obviously not, but he couldn't even answer that.
I mean, yeah, in retrospect, if you were able to be well, if it was true, would the Holocaust be justified? But of course, he just, tried to take the moral high ground by leaving.
Yeah, but he couldn't have answered that. He was trying to argue that you can arrive at conclusions without a moral framework, which is not possible. It's not, that can't be done, we shouldn't even be talking about ethics.
I feel like then we come to a point of why are we talking about the ethics of a non-existent thing, it feels like well, no, not the Holocaust, but at that point, you can go either with the ethical stance or the factual one, or both.
But the factual doesn't matter when it comes to making prescriptive arguments, right?
Yeah,
with the right axioms,
that's true.
Because obviously my position is that the Nazis were going to go after the Jews no matter what. There was nothing the Jews could or could not have done. They were the scapegoat. It had nothing to do with what they were. And that the personal, the real ideology of the Nazis was completely disconnected from material reality. It was purely a tribal thing. Our group good, their group bad, and everything else was kind of downstream. They were anti-empiricist. But the way non-compete was talking was almost like a validation of that framework, because it suggested that the Nazis were operating out of some kind of material consideration, that their bias against Jewish people was informed by a misunderstanding. That's how he framed it. It was from him. It was well, they were wrong about the Jews. The Nazis knew that they were wrong about the Jews. They just didn't care. They knew they would make stuff up. There are internal Nazi documents of them well, what do we say now? They knew they were lying. The issue wasn't that they were misinformed. The bias began before that, which means you have to get at the ethics,
Well, related to that, you also on one of your streams, and this actually plays into this really well, said something else that definitely was wrong, was that the Nazis didn't use IQ tests because Jews scored higher. And that's wrong on so many reasons. First, they killed people based on intelligence tests. I don't know if they were intelligence quotient tests, but there you go. The T4 program, they used that to kill people. And on those intelligence tests, as well as the American ones at the time, Jews scored lower because intelligence tests are fucked, and they were made to justify that killing.
The IQ tests specifically, I'm pretty sure, were favored by a lot of the Ashkenazi Jews who took them, in large part because, well, I mean, if you have a predominant impact on the banking sector, a lot of Jews were well educated. Jews had to live in cities because European peasants at the time in like German villages would just fucking burn them. Not really, but like if you're like an oppressed minority group, you want to live in a city. It's the same anywhere. So they tend to be more educated and la di da da.
Right,
So they
but they
tended to do
did.
better on the IQ test.
So
The Nazis did use intelligence tests, but the IQ ones specifically were not biased in their favor. They created other tests, I believe. And I
well,
don't think IQ tests are inherently created out of that bias. I think the IQ test is like an adopted form of a military. It was like a military aptitude
no,
test.
no. What it was in France. Alfred Binet was contracted by, I think, in Paris, the schools, to figure out who needed extra help, who would have like a learning disability at the time. You know, they wouldn't
Oh,
call
right,
it
the
that.
special ed classes,
And
yeah.
yeah, and he and someone else who worked on it were like, okay, it's for this reason, no greater population thing. Then these eugenicists, racists at Stanford picked it up and developed it, and they had the idea that immigrants will do worse, black people will do worse. So instead of that being showing bias in it, because those things happen, Ashkenazi Jewish immigrants scored much lower than the American white population. And they're like, well, this is fine because that's what they expected. The military tests were somewhat related, but came after that. And so basically, they used that to justify kicking it, or I guess not letting in Eastern Europeans, a lot of which, because of this, demographics of those countries, were Jews. So, like so a lot of the questions were cultural stuff. Like for the Nazi ones, they would ask, who's Bismarck? What is the meaning of Christmas? And that's how, like, if you're doing an isolated population, I guess intelligence testing can work. Like, if you did it of like all the, in Beverly Hills, in that school, that works. But then they intentionally made it cross population to do that.
I would have to look into this more than from what I've seen. My understanding is that the Nazis disfavored IQ tests because they were less partial than what the Nazis wanted. The Nazis didn't want a real intelligence test. The Nazis wanted like an intelligence test that actually measured how like Aryan you were. Like they wanted a big red button they could hit, and like all the Germans would hit it, and it would go, "Wow, you're very smart." And then if anyone who wasn't like blonde-haired, blue eyes hit it, it would go, "Wow, you're dumb." And that's what they wanted.
Yeah,
That was the science.
I mean, when you said it, I tried to look it up. All I could find was not a historian, but an author who apparently got, the initial testing questions from the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, I think, where it was that they had those like cultural questions. And from what I understand, that was very similar to the American test as well. What is an objective intelligence test? Well, especially on kids who don't know math.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I was only making the argument that the Nazis weren't favorable towards it. From Wikipedia here, it says Adolf Hitler banned IQ testing for being Jewish.
Really?
In
what
the
Wikipedia page?
History of the Race and Intelligence Controversy.
So I just proved I was wrong.
Well,
I've been on this page and fuck. Which section?
If you Control F band, it'll be the first thing, or I guess the only response on the page.
Okay, this is weird.
I mean, I can
I'll
look
it
more
up
into it. The source,
later. I'm on the same page and I don't.
The sources of the structure and measurement of intelligence, Hans-Jürgen Einzig and David W. Volker. Transaction Publishers, 1979 page. I mean, I can look into this. We don't need to get into the weeds on
I'm
research.
weird. I'm on the same page and not finding that, so I'll look at your stream later, I guess.
Right. It's in the end of the 1920 to 1960s period on the history of race and intelligence controversy.
I see. I was on race and intelligence, not history of race and intelligence.
Looking at the paper here.
Yeah.
This classic textbook, originally published in 1979. Fuck, I'd have to do a JSTOR thing to get this. I can look at it later. Yeah, anyway, it's a bit in the weeds.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, yeah, Hitler did it for being Jewish, but it says earlier up that, they praised the Third Reich for sterilization laws, and so...
Well, I'm not arguing that stuff like intelligence tests haven't been used by eugenicists.
Jewish, I don't necessarily know if that means like they did better. I know the US ones they did not, because that's like one of the big things for saying, well, the genetics of IQ tests, that genes don't really seem to play much of a part.
I'm not familiar with that particular bit of history.
Yeah, no, but it's good to know that I think it was like the Ashkenazi Jewish population, like me, who is one, versus my great-grandparents immigrating, would likely be like a 3 standard deviation difference in the average, 2 or 3. And obviously, like, for me, for example, or most people, they would put in that there's not like a huge genetic mixing.
No, I'm familiar with the way this stuff is biased, But again, I'll look into it more in the future. Was there anything else that you wanted to hit me on?
Yeah, no, I think that was it. I mainly wanted to say that I feel like that. Oh yeah, there was one other thing, which is with crime statistics as well. And I guess with IQ, you focus more, for obvious reasons, on like the sociological side, like crime statistics put Black people higher than white people in general because of urbanization, poverty, etc. There is more to it than that. And I think it's important to point out, like with the IQ and with the crime statistics are mainly, law enforcement statistics, prison statistics, stuff like that. I think it is important to point out how the statistics themselves have been, at least in the past, intentionally made to portray things a certain way.
Well, yeah, but this is about like, well, where are you going to focus your energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can sit a racist down and you can be like, okay, so here are the ways in which biases can influence like the validity of the statistic, but a lot of them are only going to hear you like ignoring the statistic. Racists are used to like screaming 1350 and then the liberal like cowers, unable to accept the truth, or they deny it outright. I find it's generally better to just accept the statistic at face value, even though it's not fully accurate, and then deconstruct it as is, because it gives them it doesn't give the impression that you're running from the data they're providing. You don't want because you don't want them to roll their eyes and go like oh yeah, okay, let's hear about how this isn't real, libcuck, you know, because once they get in that state, it's really 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 difficult to get them to pay attention to what you're saying, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess it all goes back to, I think it's like attack their sources and not them. I think is a good way to summarize all my arguments is like go like, well, you know, they're I mean, saying like they're trying to trick you does come as attacking the person's intelligence. Then again, so does saying they're stupid. So
Well, you have to attack them, right? Because my goal is never to convince them.
yes,
My goal is to convince people watching. So attacking them can make them look weak.
true. Yeah, I would like to see you focus more on like um the not the arguments, but more like the justification, like why why does someone who believes that they are logical make these illogical arguments? And one answer is, of course, I guess racism makes them stupid versus racism, there are people trying to take advantage of that, you know?
Well, yeah, but I think this is a bit reductive.
I feel like
there are
at
always
this point,
there are always different ways.
I'm like saying the same thing two different ways. So
well, I get the
apologize
point you're
for
coming
that.
at. The problem is we just haven't had that many racism debates lately. But if we have more in the future, I guess we'll have to see how the tactics evolve.
Yeah,
because it's quite difficult to find people who are even like worth the time of talking to. They're
right.
so
I mean,
fucking stupid.
that's why I go to like obscure discords and Reddits because I'm not a content creator. I can do that shit.
Yeah, not much of a benefit to me doing that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess you could possibly like go over more like Fuentes videos or like ones where they're not, you know, like instead of debating them, just when they lay out all their arguments.
He doesn't lay out his arguments though.
True, Fuentes was a bad example.
It's difficult to find people who are even worth the time. Either way, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to hit on some more stuff before I subject my audience to watch me play boomer shooters.
All right. I'll go then. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
All right. I'll just say that I have a Twitch that I'll stream tomorrow in case people want to, follow up. It's KRIM404 on Twitch and Crim Speaks on Twitter.
It's a pretty easy name to remember.
Yeah, I just changed it.
Okay. Well, it's a solid
Vosh is, I guess, if you get the spelling right, easier.
Well, people invariably misspell my name anyway, so it all kind of leads back to me. It's like a funnel.
That's true. That's true. All right. Well,
take care and enjoy your stream, okay?
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right. I think the lesson there was I have to be more racist or something. We'll do our best with that. Chat was so mean. Well, yeah, chat's entitled, right? It's always like, not every nanosecond of everything that ever happens on stream is fast-paced entertaining. Let me be mean. Let me take it out on other people. Because they're children. Not realizing, of course, that, and having done call-in streams, I know this for a fact, the vast majority of you, if you had a chance to speak to me, would stutter and then vomit out of anxiety. So, not in a good position, then, to be a cunt. Okay, close this, close that. Close that, close this. What's going on with JBP? feel like talking about JBP stuff. I feel like I want to talk about something else. Jordan Peterson was being a goofy goober on Twitter. I feel like I've moved on from this. I feel like I want to talk about something else though. I feel like there are other things that mean more to me at present. Let's talk about Catalonia. No. Let me think. Let me think. Hmm. Got it. I've been getting a lot of emails from worried viewers lately because they have picked up on my what I would call frank realistic, what others might call, pessimistic attitude towards the future of politics in this country. And I thought I kind of wanted to sort of respond to this broadly as like a good go-to. I want to talk about like what to do. I'm giving all of you life advice right now, okay? Because I've thought about this. I can't do this one-on-one over email for so many reasons. Length, time management. So I'll refer to this, okay? Oh, this convo for the 10th time? No. We're hitting on this. It's going to be real good, okay? Everyone can learn from this, okay? So here's the issue. Everybody has like different levels of consideration they have to take when it comes to the freedom they have to do things. So for example, people who have some money are in more of a position to accommodate any future needs they might have to, satiate than people who have no money. Disabled people might not be able to do things that not disabled people can do in order to help themselves. So like, here's an example. One of the best things that you can do to help with depression is to go on occasional walks. That's true. Not everyone can walk. It sounds such an obvious statement, like kind of self-evident, like, well, obviously. Well, then how do you so what is it just nothing then for people who can't walk? So like it's null. Like, what do you do then? Well, obviously, in that specific case, you can still do wheelchair walks or whatever. You can't account for every edge case, but I wanted to talk broadly about what you should do right now. So I'm going to speak to what I think is like the most sort of broadly disadvantaged member of my community. Okay, I'm going to talk to like like a 16 to 20, like young, like late college, early college, late high school, trans, depressive, anxiety-ridden, autistic, not so much money, conservative parents, And if that doesn't apply to you, if those don't all like apply to your life, then you can just remove some of those categories. Like, oh, actually, my parents are good to me. Okay, well, great, oh, actually, well, I'm not trans or whatever. Okay, well then, yeah, don't even have to worry about that. It's you sort of develop for the most I guess the most disadvantaged category, and then know you have contingencies for everyone else, basically. But I want to talk, okay? Here's the thing, like, here's my concern, right? This country's probably going to go a bad way pretty soon, because I think, Harper v. Moore, I think the Republicans are going to rule on that in a fashion that allows them to consolidate an anti-democratic minority that will nonetheless rule federally in many of the states, and that'll be bad. Whether or not that's going to lead to like a period of severe regression under Republicans and then like a bounce back and Republicans are like ousted or sort of embarrassed or no longer favored, that could happen. Crazy big civil war brouhaha, that could happen. I don't really know, but I want to talk about like basic stuff that you should be focusing on right now. Okay. I get a lot of these questions, I'm aiming young in terms of like who I'm responding to, but I think this applies to everyone. A lot of people have asked, like, should I stay in the closet? Should I come out? Should I tell my parents that I'm gay, that I'm trans, this or that? What should I do about my bad friend group or whatever? One of the first things that you can do, okay, and this is like ubiquitous advice, is learn the things that you can change and the things that you can't. And if you can't change something, work within your means to make it as tolerable as possible. If you can change something, then try to, unless the consequences of doing so are intolerable. If you have shitty friends that are like holding you back, I can't tell you how much it matters to have a friend group that's like, supportive. It sounds so gay. It's, power of friendship, everyone get together. Well, I mean, yeah, we're social animals. You guys know the run. It's actually really important. So many people suffer needlessly by telling themselves, if I didn't have these shitty friends, then I would have no friends at all. I don't know if I've ever met somebody who regretted cutting off shitty friends because they were then lonelier after, Loneliness is a template upon which you can paint. It's very difficult to reform having bad, unsupportive friends. Um, is it possible you might jump the gun here? Sure, it's always possible. But generally speaking, like, well, what's the first thing you should focus on? Whatever you can do to improve your social life, I strongly suggest you do it, okay? A lot of you folks spend time on Discord or Twitter. You make friends online. There is nothing wrong with making friends online, but it is important to have friends in person too. This is not going to be as easy for some people as it is for others. A lot of us most of my viewers live in cities or in well-developed areas, but some of you guys live in more rural or more conservative areas where it can be really, really difficult to make like interpersonal friends, I've said this before, but a lot of people don't do this because it makes them feel like a dork. How do you make a friend? That's actually a really difficult question, right? Like in the pure logistics of the thing. Like, how do you meet a new person and then talk to them, get to know each other, and then have a friend? It's easy to do when you're in school because you're forced into it. Not to say everyone makes friends in school, but at the very least, you got kind of a handicap going on there. To a lesser extent, college, but still true. Because people are put in situations where they have to socialize. They're with a like age group, They have shared goals, sometimes with class projects or just getting through the day. But if you're outside of all that, what do? Well, it sounds dorky, but I swear to God, no matter where you are in the United States, unless we're really talking the sticks, I mean, unless we're talking you live in a town that's got a couple thousand people or some like blighted suburban development that's right off a freeway overpass that hasn't yet had a commercial district put in nearby. I mean, unless you're in a situation like that, you can probably Google local events in your area, and there are probably some earnest people who are setting stuff up nearby that you can attend. I remember back when I was in Los Angeles after college, I was a bit, bored and lonely. I went to a couple of still art paintings. I went to a couple of hiking groups. Literally, just people would just meet together and like hike, a group of like a couple dozen people, Oftentimes you can just do like just for free. You can just interact with other people. And it can be a little bit imposing or difficult to involve yourself in these situations. But unfortunately, like the core conceit of making new friends is putting yourself out there, You should work up to whatever it takes to be able to confidently enter a room with people you don't know, understand what's going on in that room, and then kind of work with that, It's not all about like cold approaches or pickup artistry where you just walk up to somebody and you're like delivering this set of prepared line. Don't do any of that, But just being there is something. Also, have a little bit of faith in other people, If you go to another event where you're new, people might also just come up and talk to you, Like, they're holding a public event. They're putting information of that online. You think they don't want new people arriving? Like, that's why they're doing that. They odds are somebody's going to talk to you as long as you don't come across as like unapproachable or creepy. I mean, God, as long as you shower, I hope stuff like that would track on its own. I know this might seem like really basic, but we live in an era now where it's really easy to make friends online because social media is incredibly efficient and very like well developed to corral together people with shared interests. So it's really easy to meet each other. There's a very low barrier of entry when it comes to entering these social spaces and talking to new people. I'm willing to bet you probably feel less anxiety DMing somebody for the first time than you do like talking to someone new in real life. Just guessing. Uh, you know, just throwing it out there. Vosh, I made friends after moving by going to my kickboxing class. I wanted to do it before, and the friends I made came along naturally from interacting with the group. That's what you have to understand, you know? Everything is so certain these days when it comes to like the direct empirical outputs of social interaction. Social media is literally gamified with likes and retweets and such. You can see numerical representations of people's popularity. That doesn't happen in real life, so people, I think, can feel a bit more on edge, and that might put some of you guys off. But your goal when interacting with people isn't to like go in there to make new friends. It's to interact with people and have pleasant interactions. Think about it from the ground up, you know? You don't build a house, you lay a foundation. And every conversation you have, however short, that's just a pleasant little aside, is another brick you're laying to that foundation. It's another step you're putting up, you know? Because a couple of interactions in, and people might go from just asking you how you're doing to asking about you on a more fundamental level, or vice versa. A greater interest reciprocally in, you know, who's friends or who's not. Just pursue interactions, because those are the only things you have control over, not friendships, not relationships. Pursue the interactions themselves. Now, please work on that. It's good. You know, learn to talk to people. Don't feel so insecure about messaging them. Remember, if they don't message you back, it doesn't mean they hate you. I have people that I like that I don't message back for weeks. People's lives are complicated. Don't make it all about you. You're thinking about yourself far more than other people are thinking about you. You know, you make a little fuss up, you stumble over some words, you come across as awkward. They'll forget in a minute. You'll remember that for as long as you let yourself remember that. You know, that's you. It's like, how many of you still remember awkward moments in like middle school classrooms? Do you think anyone else in those classes remembers your little moment? No, of course not. But people sort of persist in this like projection, or this, I guess it's a little bit self-centered. The idea like, oh yeah, you know, because I remember, other people must care. They don't. People are just trying to live their lives, you know? And a lot of those people could do with, you know, a little more socializing themselves. So help them out with that. With regards to like planning for the future and shit like that, you know, I can't make any prescriptions about like, well, what should you study in class? You know, what should you do in college? I'll only say this. If you're in college or even in high school, please God, be on good terms with your professors. Oh my God. There are so many opportunities that people can get just from being the first person a professor thinks of when they're thinking of like some kind of extracurricular or like weird alternate thing, you know, helping with a project, help them with this, help them with that, you know. Professors are really overworked. Teachers are really overworked. They often have favorite students, and teachers get blamed for this, but really think about it. If you were a teacher, would you not have a favorite student and like students you don't like? Is that not like, is that surprising? Yeah, obviously, some students are going to be like nice and pleasant, and some of them are going to be assholes. Of course, they're going to be preferential, and a lot of these teachers teach like hundreds of students, you know, in a very short span of time. So make yourself distinct to them. That doesn't mean you have to overperform in their class or anything. Just be earnest and sort of try to engage with them. Of course, if your professors or teachers are dipshits, then don't. You know, you know what I mean. Just, it's something that an effort should be put towards. You know, you can go about that and try your best. Working sucks. Like, jobs suck. You know, they suck a lot less when you get along with your coworkers. So much of this is basic social advice, right? If you can get along with your coworkers, work is way more tolerable. The difference between a job that makes you want to die and a job that you can like end a shift and feel like okay at least is usually, do I get along with the people that I work with? If you get along with the people you work with, that can even be like, that can even make like customer service jobs a little more tolerable. Like being a waiter and having to deal with customers is horrible. But if you go back to the kitchen, there's someone back there who's like rolling their eyes and going, yeah, I heard that, what a piece of shit. You feel a lot better. Socializing, bonds, you know? So many of the problems that we experience are a product of either like incidental or manufactured social alienation, which is why I hammer on so much about the necessity of combating that, of being confident enough not to be some kind of like, you know, hyper confident alpha male, whatever the fuck, but just like the basic belief, which you should have dogmatically, by the way. This is something that you should believe no matter what evidence is provided to you. You should believe that you deserve happiness and other people are worth talking to. That should be like a fundamental position you hold no matter what. And you should believe it no matter what, because if you believe that conditionally, you will, at some point in time, because you're feeling depressive or anxious, the condition will be tripped and you'll think, oh, actually, that's not true. The problem is your brain is just not a great engine for arriving at logical conclusions consistently, especially when it comes to stuff like socialization, because those calculations involve stuff like self-worth, confidence, and it's really difficult to empirically reaffirm or measure any of those variables. So you might, in a bad moment, think, oh, actually, well, I don't deserve this, or I don't deserve that, and I shouldn't do this, and I shouldn't do that. Unfortunately, the best way out of any kind of mental funk like that is usually maintaining the like the discipline to engage in some very basic self-care, and people don't do that if they think they don't deserve it. That's why if ever there's a thought you should listen to least, it's the thought, I don't even deserve to improve. You ever felt that way? I haven't, because I'm great. But if you ever felt that way, it's like, I'm such a piece of shit, I'm so depressive, whatever. I don't even deserve to feel good. I don't even deserve to do this or that. I think, like, again, your brain is a flawed machine. It's difficult to conduct self-analysis with the machine that you're analyzing, because if there's a problem with the brain, it's not good at assessing what's wrong with the brain. Depressive episodes can be sort of prolonged near indefinitely through this insistence that, like, oh no, I don't even deserve to do better. I'm just a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't work. It doesn't help anyone. You should believe dogmatically that you do deserve those things, because there's no condition where you don't want to believe those things. There's no instance where you want to wake up and it's empirically better for you to think you don't deserve to be happy. That's dumb. That's just not, it just doesn't work that way. You're not doing anyone any favors. You're not doing anyone else any favors either, by the way. Part of being human is treating other people like shit sometimes, then feeling really bad about it. None of us is perfect. It's not good, but of course we've all done that. And there is nothing worse than somebody treating you poorly and then seeing that person go on a self-esteem depressive spiral, and they're so pathetic you can't even feel bad about them anymore. You can't even be mad anymore. Nothing feels worse than that. So if you have mistreated someone, please, God, do them a favor and don't respond to that realization by spiraling into some kind of self-esteem, whirlpool. Because then that doesn't make them feel good. It doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make you more repentant or less abusive or whatever. It doesn't make them feel better. It's just not good. Don't do that. Own up to what you've done. It is an abuse tactic if done deliberately, and it can be if done accidentally. Just don't do that stuff, That socializing shit, it's so important. It's so important to focus on that, because at the end of the day, like, so many things that may appear impossible suddenly become possible if you have the right supportive group of people. Every logical or technical problem, this is one of the reasons why there tends to be a greater sense of community engagement in poor neighborhoods. It's necessary. If you go to the ghetto or whatever, there are often, like, it's not at all an uncommon sight in bad parts of neighborhoods to have, like, families all next to each other, like, socializing, families knowing each other through like 4 generations, their neighbors know each other, they talk. Whereas if you go to pristine neighborhoods that are relatively upper middle class, you tend to see a lot less, like, community. And that's because, hey, I can't afford a babysitter. Can my neighbor help? Hey, I don't have enough money to make rent or food. Okay, can this person help? My thing broke. My laundry machine or my dryer broke. Can I use my neighbor's? So many problems can be solved with socialization. It's like the medieval village, right? Nowadays, if you live in a suburb, everything that you need to live outside of, like, utilities and groceries and shit is inside your little house box. But in the medieval village, how long do you think your village is going to get by without the blacksmith or the cobbler or the farrier or the farmers or the this or the that or the this or the that? They'll all die. You need all those people. It's not like a suggestion. It's not like, oh, it'd be great if you had the well-being. You need those people. Nowadays, we don't really have that, except in, like, a broad, like, supply chain sense where, like, we need sweatshop workers in China. But communally, so much stuff that seems completely insurmountable. I swear to God, I swear to God, it's all about finding people that you can rely on. I know this, it's so cliche, but people forget this. What you do is you remember this as like a Disney Aesop. This is remembered as like the golden rule. Treat others how you wish to be treated. And everyone's like, oh, of course, I know that already. Well, do you live it? So you know that community matters. Okay, do you live it? Because I've seen my chat. I know you people don't go outside. I know that. I know you're saying, yeah, wow, that's really smart, and you're not going to talk to another human being for 6 days. I know you. It's really important to work on stuff like this. And it helps overwhelmingly with so many other social issues because it means that you can cushion problems you couldn't solve individually. Financial problems, emotional problems. Sometimes when you're feeling really bad, all you need is a distraction, like watching a TV show with someone else. Critically important, just getting a walk. Find other people to go on walks with. Get to know your neighbors. Every decision you're going to have to make about the future is predicated on your ability to adapt to difficult circumstances, and that is made so much easier when you know people. I'm talking on every level, interpersonally, psychologically, all the way up to like in a revolutionary sense. It all comes down to community. At every level, if you can't do something yourself, which is often the case because, again, social animals, you need other people to assist in some fashion. And the best thing that you can do to facilitate that, the best thing you can do to make sure that's even a possibility, is to be the kind of person other people want to be around, which is now what I am going to talk about. Again, a lot of you guys are sort of low self-esteem, you're gay, you're trans, and it hurts you in this respect, which is a bit of a detriment to basic socialization. And I just want to say, mental health issues notwithstanding, obviously, I highly recommend getting enough food, water, sunlight, getting a regular sleep schedule. That stuff really helps with depression. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge how much depression is influenced by basic physiological inputs, but unfortunately it is. Your brain isn't made of magic. It's made of chemicals and meat. And if you don't put the right chemicals into your body, such as vitamin D or, the right food and, water intake levels, it doesn't work as well. It doesn't work as good. And to that extent, I strongly recommend, drinking water, staying hydrated. But after you've got that down, the basic like self-care, self-discipline stuff, well, how do you make other people like you? Well, it's a stupid question. You can't make other people like you. How do you come across as likable though? I think, and I've said this before, it's the age of autism, lads, all right? What you want to do is believe that you have interesting things to say and then do it. A lot of people do this phony, like they cover up what they actually believe because they're worried about coming across as awkward with people. I want you to think, okay? Make in your head, okay? I do this right now. Think about things that you're interested in, okay? All right, are you thinking? I imagine most of you can think of a good number of things. People who are online tend to have a broader range of interests because they're exposed to so many different facets of other cultures. There are probably at least a couple of things you can think of that you're interested in. Okay? Now, eliminate from your mind any topics which require some kind of social context to understand. So, for example, if there's some kind of online drama or like specific community space that is an interest of yours, that's probably not going to be great conversational material when engaging with other people because you kind of need to be there to know why that's interesting, right? It's sort of it's sort of a little bit like for instance, I wouldn't want you guys talking about me unless you knew the other person already knew about me. This is a context thing. If there are broader things, I bet a lot of you like trains, video games, painting, or illustration. You might like more philosophical topics like transhumanism. Architecture, that's a big one. Think about topics you're interested in that might have a broader appeal. A great example of topics that you can engage with others on the subject of is, think of something that every single human alive has some kind of casual interest in. Architecture is a great one because nobody has zero opinions on architecture. Every single person alive has had some kind of thought on what nice buildings look like. That's a good one. Music. Pretty much everyone, save me, I guess, has an opinion on music that they'd be willing to discuss with others. What if it's a technical topic like physics or mathematics? There's nothing wrong with technical topics. The difficulty is, once you've chosen a topic, how do you present it to other people? Okay? Like, I really want you to think about this, okay? The best way of understanding how to talk about your interest to other people is to think, if somebody else was talking with me about a subject I had, and this is critical, no interest in, how would I like them to talk about it with me? Think about something you have no interest in at all. For me, it might be music or celebrities, like pop culture kind of stuff. If somebody was to approach me with that topic, how would I want to have it discussed at me? How would I want to receive that information? Let's say it's sports. Let's say it's the World Cup. I know nothing about soccer. Nothing at all. But if somebody was to come up to me and talk to me about the World Cup, here's what I would want as a recipient of that topic. I would want them to keep it light, so don't make me feel like I have to be engaged with every word they're saying. Just kind of casually bring it up, casually throw it out there. I'd want them to keep it entry level. Obviously, if it's something that's like more technical, I'm not going to get it, I'd want it to be approachable. Like Gale says, a human interest story is something everyone can relate to, Maybe a particular soccer player has done something interesting or overcome an injury. That's a human interest story. It's relatable to everyone, right? I would want them to be passionate because I don't want them to come across as disinterested, right? Passion is really attractive in other people. And I don't just mean like in a romance way. I mean like as friends are. Like, I don't want to be surrounded with people who are just blandly conveying the things on their mind. I want people to be anime protags. I really mean this. I want, when I'm interacting with new people, I want to be able to think, who was that person? Oh, that was the person with the gray blazer. Oh, that was the person who had the hat. No, I want to think, that was the guy who came up to me and talked to me about soccer for 15 minutes and told me a goddamn story, and I could feel the heat radiating from his brain as he shared this bit of himself with me. That's what I want to remember. I want to be around people who make me feel like I'm alive. Right? Don't you want that? Imagine you're at a party and you're feeling a bit shy. I'm not shy at parties, but I know for a fact that if I was, I would like other people to pick up a little bit of the conversational torch, Come up to me. Even if I'm not interested in the topic, give me something light, give me something interesting, and sell it to me. Be passionate. What you guys need to do is what I just said the other person should do to you, but to other people. You get me? Be that person. Don't worry about being like crazy, perfectly charismatic. Don't worry about being some kind of like martini swilling social master who can just effortlessly convey all information with no self-consciousness at all. Don't worry about any of that. Just focus on being the person that you would want someone else to be approaching you with the topic they're interested in. Be passionate. Be remembered for the things that you care about. The only thing you really need to be concerned with when you're being that guy to other people is notice signs of disinterest. I've talked about this before, and it is absolutely critical, okay? Absolutely critical. If a person looks like they're not too interested in what you're talking about, you should give them opportunities to break off the conversation without them feeling bad for you. You don't want other people to feel like they're only entertaining you out of pity. The reason you want to be careful about this is twofold. It's for both of you. You don't want them to feel stuck, and you don't want to feel like they're only listening to you because they feel bad for you, right? That's a big fear. Yeah, a lot of people are saying my worst fear. The best way to deal with that is to give them outs. So, for example, this is the easiest one in the book. This is a very straightforward one. You're talking with someone, you're sharing an interest, you're saying something about how, like, you recently read an article on water on Mars, and you're talking about it, and you're well, it's just really cool, maybe something cool could be done with it. You're talking with people. You're not sure if they're invested in the conversation. You're not sure if they really care. Maybe your anxiety is flaring up a little bit because you're talking to a cute girl. Oh, dangerous. You do not want to feel like she's only talking to you out of pity, right? You don't want to be one of those guys or girls, do you? You don't want to be remembered as that person who was overbearing. No. Huh? Yeah, see, I can see people are scared. The best way to alleviate those fears is to give them an out. Easiest one in the book. Oh, we've been talking for a while. I hope I'm not keeping you. It really is as simple as that. Have you been talking for 2-3 minutes? That's a decent length of time for a direct conversation at a social event. Simple as that. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to ramble off for so long. Just like that. It's that simple. Seriously, like it's like think of ways to think of it as easing off the gas a little bit, If you're a little rambly, there's nothing wrong with that, Oh, I've been going on for a while. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep you for so long. And depending on their reaction, you can see how they actually feel. If you say that exactly, oh, I've been rambling, didn't mean to keep you for so long, which is fine. That's a fine thing to say. They can respond with like, oh no, it's been great. If they ask you a follow-up question, you're in, by the way. If they respond to that and then continue with what you were saying, like they ask you to continue or they like ask you to extrapolate, you're fucking in. Congratulations. That's like the strongest affirmation of their interest they can give. They're rejecting your easing up on the gas. You eased up on the gas and they put their hand on your foot and slammed it down. They're like, yeah, okay, keep talking. Like that, if they say something like, oh no, it's okay. Like if you say something like, oh, I didn't mean to ramble, it's been a little while. And they're like, oh no, it's okay. That's a neutral response. That's not positive or negative. If they say something neutral, like, oh, it's okay, or, oh, no worries, or anything like that, that could mean they're okay with you continuing to go. That could mean that they'd like to sort of do something else right now. It legit is like totally neutral. I tend to lean on the side of caution, especially with women, because women are often socialized to be really, really like sort of non-confrontational, So I think it's generally a good idea to lean towards slightly more timid when you're first meeting someone. After all, at most social events, you're going to be meeting more than one person if you're going to like a hiking group or something or the other. And I want to be clear, by the way. If you've been talking to someone for a few minutes and you're like, oh, sorry, I've been rambling for a bit. Thanks for listening, And they're like, oh, yeah, sure, it's okay. And then they kind of like wander off. That's a sign of disinterest. I want to be clear. If that happens to you, you did nothing wrong. At least nothing wrong within the framework of what we're talking about. That's fine. It's fine to interact with new people, talk about your interest for a while, and then like they are, kind of, and then they walk off. It has happened to me so many times because it's inevitable and it happens to literally everyone. Literally everyone. There's not a human on earth who that has not happened to, okay? So don't worry about it. I'm seriously, don't, you had a conversation. It's fine. Not every conversation can end in someone being enraptured by what you have to say. You got some practice in. You interacted with somebody and you didn't wrong them. You gave them a let out. There are a million ways to give people outs, by the way. A good way, prompting questions. If you prompt questions like, oh, out of curiosity, what would you have done with X? Or, oh, have you ever listened to this? Or, oh, have you ever heard of this? Prompting questions gives them a chance to talk, and the way in which they talk will tell you a lot about how they actually feel. If they come across as kind of like, oh, yeah, 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 then maybe they're not so into it. And you can end a conversation really graciously. And by the way, even if they're not into the conversation, you being able to end a convo graciously puts you above like 95% of people. I swear to God, okay? If you can be in a conversation with somebody, they're not that into it, you give them a leading question and they kind of suggest they're not that into it with the way they respond, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, well, it's been fun. Have a good day." And then you go do something else. You're winning. You're doing so good right there. You're such a good little PogChamp. You're doing great. That's so yeah. Most people can't do that. Most people cannot do that. You want to strike that good balance where you're being authentic and enthusiastic with presenting what you're interested in, while also being respectful of nonverbal signs of disinterest and obviously verbal ones. And obviously conversations aren't just about autistically rambling at other people. That's a good part of my conversations, but whatever. You also have to listen to them. I know, terrible. I swear to God, this feels so dumb to say, but this really is like a thing people struggle with. Please do listen to other people when they talk to you. I've noticed before, primarily through my own experiences, the main reason I sometimes find myself unable to pay attention to a conversation is because I'm thinking about something beyond the conversation. Usually, am I bothering this person? Do they want to be my friend? Am I going to be dumping a load on them later? Really, it's one of those three. The first one can be solved with giving them an out. If they've been given outs and you can respond to those, you don't need to feel anxious or like insecure about their participation. But for the other 2 points, it's like, do they actually want to be friends? And will we be fucking? And I feel like both of these questions are like really unproductive to think on. Like it's not good to have those things on your mind because those are like top level considerations. I think it's appropriate to think when you're at home after having a social outing, what can I do to make that person my friend? What can I do to maybe woo that person? I think that's fine. You're just reflecting on a social outing. You're thinking, okay, well, here's what I did, here's what I learned, and I kind of think that person's hot. I like that person. Those are top level considerations. Those are strategy meetings. How can I behave to develop a friendship or see their dick? Great. That's fine. But when you're actually talking to a person right then in that moment, you're not doing any like high tier strategy shit. You're right there on the ground. You're in the fucking battlefield. So don't get distracted thinking like, well, what does that lead to? What does this mean? This, that, the other. Oh, she said this. Her eyes moved slightly. Is that the pussy move? Don't even think about it. Literally, just focus on the conversation, right? Again, think of it always as a construction worker. You know what I mean? When you're building, when you're doing the construction, you're not thinking about the design of the building with every brick you lay, right? When you go up there, you're laying bricks for this wall, for this part of the foundation. You're pouring concrete into this fill. You're putting rebar in this section. You're doing what you came there to do. You don't assess the design of the house while you're laying the bricks. You do it when you're talking with the engineer, looking at the blueprints outside of the construction zone. Does that make any sense? You should focus on what's important where you are. And when you're actually talking with somebody, what matters most is how you handle that conversation. You want to think about like high-level concerns when you're stepping back and low-level concerns like direct interpersonal engagement when you're there. And listen to what they're saying, I've found, as snobby as I used to be, as much of an enlightened Reddit atheist who doesn't even know who Lady Gaga is, etc., that I was when I was in high school, like, with time, I have come to appreciate an enthusiastic and well-delivered lesson from anyone on any subject. Really, listen, if I was talking to a Taylor Swift fan and they could tell me a good story, I would enjoy it. I used to be a lot more discerning when it comes to like what kinds of subjects I'm interested in hearing about, because I imagined that, like, as a smart person, I must like smart topics. But this is ironically a stupid way of thinking. Being smart conversationally is not about the topics you choose. It's about how you engage with the topics you're given. An intelligent person, and you'll know this, by the way, if you're a fan of Slavoj Žižek, because Slavoj Žižek will talk about anything, but he'll talk about it in a smart way. Any subject, any bit of pop culture or media, he'll talk about it. He'll engage with basically any subject, and it'll come across as intelligent because it's not about the subject. What's that old quote? It's like low-level people talk about other people, mid-level or low-intelligence people talk about other people, mid-intelligence people talk about events, high-intelligence people talk about ideas. Bullshit. Low IQ saying. You can engage intelligently and dedicatedly with literally any subject. Your only limitations here are like, well, what are you interested in? You know, what do you care to engage with? And I strongly encourage you guys to think of it in that way, because it'll make you a lot more open to listening to what other people have to say. You know? I believe it was Nancy Reagan who said that. It would be someone like her. It's a statement of what people generally talk about. People should feel free to talk about anything that they want in a social setting. Because for me, the friends that I develop, shared interests are important, but so much of it is like, how do you deliver those interests? I mean, look at this community right here. 7,000 people are watching right now, and you guys watch a personality-driven politics live streamer. I'd be willing to bet the majority of you share far more in common with me in terms of our beliefs, perceptions, and interests than I would with any random group of people. But does that mean we're all friends, or could be friends if we met interpersonally? The God's honest truth is no. And the reason for that is because the kicker on whether we could become friends really isn't whether you're a leftist or gay or into video games or whatever. It's really about your interpersonal style, the way you communicate, the way you handle social situations. And once you understand that, you start focusing on what really matters when you talk to other people, which is the basics of likability and the basics of how do I find people who engage me in that way. And once you've gotten better at socializing with other people, you can start doing more advanced stuff. Not just socializing with whoever you can share a room with, but rather thinking long term. What kind of friend circle do I want to build? What kinds of friends do I want to spend time with? I've said this before and I'll say it again. I strongly encourage, if you're looking to make friends, I encourage you guys to be direct and forthcoming. Okay? We're not high schoolers anymore. Well, some of you are, but I'm not. The friend zoning thing, it's over. We're done with that, okay? If you have feelings for a person, either in a romance, sexual, or like just friendship way, you should be straightforward. If there's somebody that you like spending time with, exchange numbers with them or socials or whatever you kids do these days, and then make an effort to talk with them again. I'm one of those guys who will have a date with somebody and then text them while driving home saying I had a good time. Some people say this is desperate. I don't fucking care. That's what I want to say at that moment. And frankly, it's never let me down. I've never regretted being that person. It's never while driving. No, not while driving. I mean like very soon after. Focus on the important part here. The point that I'm getting at is that I have never regretted being the kind of person who's upfront like that. It has literally never let me down. So I encourage you to do the same because, you know, you're really not losing anything being forthcoming. And do you really want to wait hand and foot on somebody who may be your friend in the future but would reject you now if you were upfront about wanting to be friends with them? Like, think about that. Like, what do you think the odds are on that working out in your favor? You know, oh, we seem to like each other's company, but if I proposition them as a friend now, then they might be put off. So I want to wait on maybe in the future being friends with somebody who spends time with me, but would reject me if I said I wanted to. Like, what is this? Be upfront, be forthcoming. There's no harm, really. If consequences are faced, those are only the consequences of honesty between people, which you're going to have to reconcile with one way or the other. Trying to socialize with other people is inevitably a process that will sometimes make you upset. That's how people are, you know. You should front those feelings. Don't run from them. Don't be terrified of how people feel. Also, people are a lot more accepting than you might think, okay? You guys have to understand, I am far more handsome and far more wealthy and far more social right now than I was 4 years ago, but I had no trouble with people back in college either. And you know why? It's because I was as autistically forthcoming with how I felt back then as I am now. I swear to God, there are baddies out there. There are hot chicks with the hair and the fat titties who will be positively impressed. I mean, they'll get a positive impression from just someone who's willing to be forthcoming enough that they can just directly indicate interest. I swear to God, it's a crazy world out there. I mean this, all right? Just focus on the you know, the important stuff. I wish being autistically forthcoming didn't get me bullied and shunned. Flying Ice Wizard, are you in high school? I don't think being forthcoming tends to get people bullied and shunned in college. High school can be rough because sometimes people are just going to be mean for the sake of being mean because they're in that. It's just that time. It's the environment, you know. But if you're past that point, you're still getting bullied. I don't even know what that looks like exactly. Well, I don't know. Do you get bullied? As a 28-year-old man. Nah, college was fine. I'm just being a doomer. Flying Ice Wizard. You're a college graduate. And your sorry ass posted in chat, if only being myself didn't get me bullied. Yeah, I got my eye on you. There's no way that attitude is conducive to forming good social relationships. No way in hell. My God. Hey, listen. You're all making fun, but you do the same shit. Nah. Flying Ice Wizard gets to be the class demonstration here, but the rest of you do the exact same shit. You motherfuckers, even the ones who are in college who have graduated, still sit there thinking, can I really socialize with this person? What about that one time in my junior year of high school? I know that you do this stuff because I know that you people are dumb, all right? I'm sorry to hear that, Flying Ice Wizard. Flying Ice Wizard said, I had an abusive friendship in high school. It still fucks me up. Let me talk about trauma real quick. Now, I'm speaking as an outsider because I've never been traumatized by anything because I'm perfect and all my social relationships have gone well, and don't look at any of my previous VODs to find counter evidence to that, okay? Just trust me when I say it's always been fine. So as somebody who's never had any issues in this regard, obviously trauma is kind of like necessarily, what's that quote? Trauma, okay, coping mechanisms, that's what they're called. A coping mechanism is like a brain knot that you develop as a way of mitigating the suffering that you feel from the thing that's causing you to feel traumatized. It's like it's a system that you develop in the moment, you know? The thing is, trauma is when that mechanism has negative downstream effects after the immediate cause of the trauma is no longer present, right? Maladaptive coping mechanisms, exactly. See, coping mechanisms can be great in the fly, you know, like disassociation is one, where people will feel like they're not even really present, and maybe like their parents are yelling at them, or they're being physically abused or sexually abused. Well, Dumbass, I'm not even here. You're not even raping my body. That's just a flesh body. I'm floating, you know? It's a disassociation thing, which, by the way, people misuse the term disassociate all the time now, which probably really sucks for people who actually do disassociate. But, you know, however it manifests, it's a lot like pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is something our brains develop to help us with a variety of problem solving, challenges. But pattern recognition. Oh, sorry, dissociation, not disassociation. Thank you. But pattern recognition can actually lead us to really irrational conclusions these days. It's a cognitive bias. Much in the same way, trauma is often the product of a cognitive bias that was developed as a way of responding to really negative circumstances, Trauma can be caused by all sorts of stuff. People have abandonment issues. People have shitty parents. People get fucked up by their friends. People are physically or sexually assaulted. It's not good. However, you have to understand that the part of your brain that still has the trauma response is in what is known by psychiatrists as the retard zone. I'm not going to pretend that my little, stream bit here can compensate for like a psychiatrist applying, cognitive behavioral therapy or anything. But it can be very helpful, I think. And I'm saying this again as a non-professional, but it can be very helpful to sort of reflect on what behaviors you exhibit when you recognize that you're being sort of irrational because of a trauma response. And to sort of like recognize that when it happens. You know what I mean? Like when over time you can develop like I'm feeling this really negative thing, okay, well that's this, and this tends to make me feel that way. And if you can do that and you can consistently identify like where those feelings are coming from, you can more effectively compensate for them when they arise, Right? You can learn to being aware of something is the first step to dealing with something. Yeah, mindfulness, exactly. Being in that in the moment. If you can do that, you can help with a lot of stuff. The problem is most people, reality testing, I think that's the term. Yeah, like trying to determine whether or not your thought processes are clouded at the moment. The reason this is so important is because unfortunately, trauma is actually kind of common. It's not uncommon. Trauma can be caused by a lot of stuff. A lot of wacky, sometimes fairly inconsequential stuff in the grand scheme of things. People respond to situations based on past input, and if past input is causing them to misattribute or misidentify, the stuff they're dealing with now, they can have these habitual problems. A really good example of this is people who drive their friends away with the fear that they're driving their friends away. This is a real common one, where you'll have somebody who has friends, but they're afraid their friends are leaving them because of something, so they get really clingy and desperate because they're afraid of their friends leaving them, which makes their friends feel weirder about them because they're being clingy and desperate. And then that drives the friends further away, of course, and that sort of compounds and exacerbates the issue. Mindfulness is the only real way out of that, but you're gonna want to work on that, okay? A lot of people think it's not worth it, but you're a ship sailing through the cosmos, okay? When it comes to the experience of sailing through the cosmos, keeping a lid on your own shit is priority number one. You want to make sure that you're riding out your life in the best possible sort of cognitive vessel. Because otherwise you're going to run into the same problems over and over again when it comes to dealing with other people. You gotta make sure that it's like a airline, oxygen mask kind of shit. You make sure your own mask is on. If you don't have your own oxygen mask on, you're going to keep running into the same problems when you try to socialize with other people. Let me wrap this up. This has gotten too much. Look, I'm being serious with this stuff, okay? It means a lot. It means a lot to everyone. You got to take this stuff seriously, okay? Oh, chat hates this. They hate this bit. They hate being called out. I'm rooting for you guys, okay? For what it's worth, I have a psych degree, and this has been very, very good advice, Vosh. Thank you, Anarchatistic, who is vouching for me and giving this all the weight and legitimacy of a professional psychiatric consultation. Yeah. It's yeah, it's good. It's important. It's really important, you know? I just feel like oftentimes the left often responds really poorly to these kinds of social issues because the left practices what is the left's response to this kind of stuff broadly? You know, it's like check your privilege, also feel self-love. I don't know. It's not enough. It's not even remotely enough. Self-love isn't even necessarily the best way to respond to a lot of like personal issues. Because you know, if you want a kind of you want a dogmatic approach towards self-improvement, not necessarily a dogmatic approach towards like self-congratulation. It really depends by what somebody means by love. Self-love is a very vague term, isn't it? It doesn't even mean anything, really. Does self-love just mean liking yourself? Does it mean like, I mean, I feel like it can mean a lot of stuff. It can mean self-acceptance is one thing, but then you would just say self-acceptance, right? Not self-love. I don't know. Cut the segment. Let it out. Stop. Let it out. Stop. End it. Yeah, it's true. The left does focus way too much on like systemic stuff without interpersonal stuff, you know? Like you know, systemic problems are what you can solve when you're talking about systemic issues, but interpersonally, even if we lived in a world that was systemically almost flawless, you would still have personal problems. You'd still have like lonely people. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Guys, there's something that I've been meaning to tell you for a little while that I've held off on because I wasn't sure how you'd respond to it, okay? You know, hopefully you don't hate me for this, but my tummy hurt. So I just want to end stream because I've been very brave for the past like hour of rambling, but now my tummy hurt. Yeah, I've been very brave. Hey, Andy Online, good to see you here. Oh yeah, since opening up my Twitter DMs, I swear to God, I've gotten like literally hundreds of DMs from people saying like, you helped me realize I was trans. I really am contributing to the transification of America. Really doing out here. Okay, let me read these donos, and then I'm going to go suffer in silence. Knox, the $5, says, your life advice segments are my favorite. I like talking about them, too. You know, I want to be clear, by the way. I don't always practice what I preach. There have been plenty of times that I've thought, like literally yesterday, I was laying in bed at, like, 3 p.m., I wasn't sleeping. I was just laying in bed to like respond to some texts. It's comfy. I have a comfy bed. Thinking like, man, I should get laid. It's been a while since I've gotten laid. And then I realized one of the texts that I was waiting on was a response from just the hottest chick, guys. You couldn't even believe. You couldn't even, if you saw me with her, you'd be like, nah, you'd Haas mods me to hell and back. You just the hottest. Just the best holes, the tightest holes. Anyway, so as I was saying, were unread messages from her that were from like a week ago, and then I didn't respond to them. Literally, I was thinking in my head like, you know, I should go get laid. Looking at like, and then I just spent the rest of the day playing Quake. But I just, everybody is like this. Nobody perfectly enacts like their dream, like personal behavior. Like nobody's perfect with that, you know? So don't freak out about it, you know? It's like a process, right? And it's a process that never ends. There will never be a point in your life where you're like, oh, I've done it. I've now perfectly done all my behaviors and my routine is flawless. You'll never reach that point. Every day is a struggle. But the struggle is fun because struggling means accomplishing things, and accomplishing new things makes you feel really good. That's good, you know? Do not delude yourself with the belief that one day you'll get all your shit together. No, you won't. Life is constantly adding new shit. You will never have all your shit together. You can briefly, through immense effort, get your current shit together. By the next day, there will be more shit or something will change in the existing shit. So don't freak out about it. That's fine. It's perfectly okay to reconcile with that. Good. Brew Mastercraft, thank you for the $10. As an autistic person, being upfront and able to expound on my special interests has been a net positive for me. The social group I have now is the best it's ever been. It gets better every time. Nice, Brew Mastercraft. I'm really happy to hear that. Satanic Cabal, nice try. Thank you for the $5. Fern Sprout with the tier 2 sub. Just started dating my friend who's also a Voshite. His name's Ollie. Please roast him for liking Bleach to an absurd degree. I wish I could, but unfortunately, I've never seen or read Bleach. People talking about how it ended was enough to keep me off from watching at any point. But maybe some people in chat can roast him for it. Christina Wisdom, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. Malaki, thank you for the tier 1 sub. The Box Office Knower, thank you for the $10. Fern Sprout with the $5. I'm very happy to hear that you're also dating your friend and you like to get high and watch me. Very kind of you. Still Alive, thank you for the $5. Research stream on postmodernism? No. Postmodernism is just too complicated. It's too involved. I'm not the best person to do that. I believe there's a great philosophy tube video on it. Probably some other really good videos. I'm not enough of an expert. Postmodernism is not a subject I want to do a Wikipedia research stream on. We can't, Jordan MP3. I have a tummy ache. Dating is stupid and a waste of time. But then what about the holes? Dejero, thank you for the gifted tier 2 sub. Vorse indeed. Radical Reviewer with the 666. Prepare to start drama. What's your favorite Turkey Day dish? Mashed potatoes. Riddle of Lightning, thank you for the $5. Sounds like you're trying to explain the bystander effect phenomenon, which the greater number of people present, the less likely people are to interact. Well, regardless of the number of people present, I feel like you should always feel like you have the right to engage with other people there. Like you're not a stranger. Or at least you're as much of one as everyone else is. Cosmic Willow, thank you for the tier 2 sub. I really appreciate that. Josh Holkeen with the $10. Google says Qatar is pronounced Qatar. That's what I said. Red Gladius, the $2. Learned about Qatar in school, all propaganda. Hell yeah. Mortaray with the $10. How do I deal with the overwhelming despair that comes with most of my family members being on the side of the fascists? It's so disheartening. If you got to cut your family off, you got to cut your family off. That's a pretty tough thing to reconcile with. I can't really say. My family's just too PogChamp for me to have a comparison. Kaiju, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Really appreciate that. Sparkle Fairy, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Obama's left nut, thank you for the $5. Black Guy here. Me and my teammates had cops called on us after football practice for messing around with each other. After that, we never hung out around school. Wait, by messing around with each other, that's a very ambiguous turn of phrase. Yeah, well, either way, fuck cops. Fuck 12. Jordan L99, thank you for the $20. I really appreciate that. My black mom grew up well off, surrounded by violent hillbillies, while my white dad grew up in the ghettos of Sacramento. Really made them paranoid about crime. Yeah, I get that, but man, like a 9-year-old girl, like spraying water on a tree, you know? Depends on the kind of paranoia. Kowalski from Nebraska with the $5. Totaled my F-150 today. Not my fault. I walked away fine. The elderly man, the other truck, just messed up timing. We need more public transportation options, TBH. Yeah, Jesus, glad you walked out of that. We need more public transportation so we can total buses instead. Jesus Christ. Mortaray with the tier 1 sub. I'm feeling small dick energy this month, so you get a small dick sub. I'm okay with that. Thank you, small dick friend. Charlotte96, the $5. A good function of the nod is to address someone's existence with a 1/4 hearted hi and nod while holding back, saying, fuck you, don't talk to me. Okay, all right. Whatever the nod means to you guys, I'm glad it's helping you out. I'm very delighted to hear that. Trust Reese with the $5. Your advice segments always make me feel much more put together as a person. My disability makes it hard for me to leave the house, but emotionally I'm good. I'm happy to hear that. And by the way, you can have a perfectly fun and engaging social life with a disability or not leaving the house that much. When I say getting outside or leaving the house, what I really mean is like doing stuff outside of like neat behavior. It's possible even with limited mobility to still, you know, facilitate a good social life. X Try 50 with the 4 gifted tier 1 subs. Thank you. Vosh, please get yourself some tea and something for your tummy. I'll have more coffee. And everyone in chat needs to go play D&D and practice confidence. Well, yeah, true. Playing D&D with strangers is definitely a way to do that. I put on my robe and wizard hat, etc., etc. Charlotte 96, the $5. Most bendy ancient baby ever. Ooh. Lumpy. Ooh. Feet. I love them. Yeah, they're hidden. They're camouflaged. Normal Celine with the $5. Can you check out Robert Sapolsky? He has some great takes on these things. Wow, 16 million. Introduction to Human Behavioral Biology. I can give it a look, but I tend to be really suspicious of people who try to explain human behavior with biology. Not because it's wrong. Our behavior is heavily influenced from our biology. But there's like a caste of grifters who use it as a way of justifying like racial and sexual hierarchy. This probably isn't that though, Stanford. Yeah, okay. I'll add it to the yeah. He's legit. Okay. I'll give it a listen. He's the anti-Peterson. Okay. No, okay. No, okay. I trust you guys. Yeah. I'll give it a look. Hudson the Gamer with the $5. Advice to peeps who are hesitant to approach girls. Just remember some of them actually want to be approached and talked to. They didn't come to the bar for nothing. Okay, but also one other thing. Even if somebody privately in their own mind doesn't want to be approached, you're not doing anything wrong for striking up a conversation with somebody. Just keep that in mind. I mean, obviously, if they have like earbuds in and they're at the gym and you're like, oh, hey, like whatever, just understand, even if they don't want to and you learn later that they didn't enjoy talking to you, you're not doing anything wrong by just trying to, you know, strike up a conversation. That's fine. That's just humanity. If they don't want anyone to come up and talk to them, that they shouldn't be at a social space. That may seem a bit taboo in some left spaces because like a lot of girls say like, I'm tired of guys approaching me or whatever. But if you're at like an event, like a playing card, like Magic the Gathering thing, or like a hiking group or whatever, they're literally and explicitly going to that event for the social element. That's what I'm talking about. If a person's at a gym, they could just be there to work out, you know? If a person's working, whatever, if they're just outside doing something, they might not want to socialize, you know? Probably shouldn't bother those people unless you have a, you know, good reason to believe that they want to be bothered. But if you're going to a social event that everyone's going to socialize, then it's okay to talk to them. Just give people outs and you're fine. Don't be weird and you're fine. Absolutely, Pizzazz John. Oh, and by don't be weird, I don't mean don't be autistic. You can be autistic. Just don't be like creepy or overbearing and so on and so forth. Idiopathic, thank you for the $10. I really appreciate that. And Bionicles Rule with the $5. Hey, my lib friend has an extra ticket to Breaking Points Live. He loves them. Should I go? Yeah, fuck it. Go for it. Can't hurt you, right? Yes, go in with no expectations. That's critical. You don't want to walk away from a social event where you spent 2 or 3 hours like pleasantly conversing with people and walk away feeling bad because you didn't like get like a number or make a close friend or whatever. Don't do that. Enjoy the interactions for what they are, and if you keep at that, you'll get better at them and it'll work out. It will. All right, lads. I have a tummy ache, but soon I won't because I'll lay down? I don't know. Seems like a pretty easy problem to address. Take a dump? No, I don't think it's a take a dump stomachache. I don't think it's that kind. If only everything was so easy. You know, sometimes you just gotta ride it out, right? You just gotta chill and your tummy ache goes away. I've been so brave. Who do we have? Let's go with KF Logan. Yeah, I say Kevin Logan. It's been a little while. Kevin Logan seems to be talking about the libs of TikTok thing. Yeah, let's go with Kevin Logan. As you know, a final reminder that I love you all very much. It's been delightful streaming to all of you this fine Sunday. I look forward to the next time that I get to do it, which will be tomorrow, because that's how that works. A Bad Dragon Love with $5. Exchange numbers. The woman who wants me to teach her how to drive stick shift. No expectations, but they do want to catch a movie and make a day of it. Also, all right. Bad Dragon Love 69. No expectations, but woman wants you to teach her how to drive stick and catch a movie and spend the day with you. All right. Okay. No expectations. You know, I'm just saying I wouldn't not bring a condom with me. Good luck. Okay. I'm rooting for you. I love you all very much. You're beautiful people. They find the KF Logan. KF. Have I not hosted KF Logan before? I guess it's been that long. Okay, I have to manually put it in then. It's not on the pre-existing list. KF Logan 1875. KF Logan 1875. Host Twitch. KF Logan 1875. All right, I'll see you guys soon.